literally nothing like those wild All I did was drink and party and go to rock concerts. So I got VIP access to a certain very hot rock star's room.
This was getting a little intense for my liking.
What's your problem?
Okay.
Look, bitch, I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but you're no better than the rest of us.
Hey, come on, you gotta go. I'll call you.
Hey, what would you say if I were to tell you that rock stars like Terry would pay for your attention and you would be a multi-millionaire because of it?
Hey everyone, it's your girl Catherine Nunez, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director and the Council on the IE Network.
Real Talk.
Hey, I'm Gina Lou, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hey, what's up? It's Logan Browning, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Real Talk.
Hi, this is Alana De La Garza, and you're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, I'm Diane Franklin from Better Off Dead and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. You're listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
Hi, this is Monique Capri, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director on Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, I'm Stormy Maya, and you are listening to Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
This is Vicky Judy, Orange is the New Black, and I'm here with Real Talk.
Yo, what up? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio. Keep it live.
Hi, I'm Trina Parks. You're listening to Real Talk Radio with the Director. Hey, I'm Issa Rae, and you're watching Real Talk with the Director on Dollhouse Radio.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And nothing less. What's going on? Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with the Director and the Jedi Council. I'm the Director, and we'll be with you for the next 120 minutes or so. And Real Talk is brought to you every Monday by B2S Media. We broadcast live via the World Wide Web on youtube.com/IE Network TV. And the social media, the social network itself, Meta, aka Facebook and Twitter. What's good? Another Monday. Thanks for coming back. Happy birthday to the king, the true king of pop, Michael Jackson. Happy birthday in heaven for you. And, you know, I emphasize the true, the only king of pop. That be Michael Jackson. So, happy birthday to him. We'll talk a little bit about that stuff. I'm wondering if, you know, are we ready for a Michael Jackson biopic? A Michael Jackson biopic. Now, granted, a very good one was done years ago about the Jacksons, the family. Now, you can't talk about Michael Jackson without talking about the Jackson family. However, there's never been a dedicated film to the life and death of Michael Jackson. Are we ready for that yet? It's a question we want to ask and answer. I don't know if there's anywhere. There's been numerous times that a script was supposedly in the works and people were, you know, they was doing this, they was doing that, and it wouldn't get approved by the estate. Then there was one script that was actually that Paris Jackson, Michael's daughter, kind of co-signed a little bit, and then the estate was kind of, you know, feeling it. That never went nowhere. So we'll see. And of course, in the wake of documentaries like Leaving Neverland and stuff like that, that was pretty much made to tarnish Michael Jackson's legacy. How about a movie actually chronicling his life, his rise, his success, and everything that went along with it, and kind of giving a look from their side, so to speak, or his side, so to speak, things that he went through. Be interesting. Also, movie news we're gonna go through, of course. I'm not sure. Heaven Hollywood might join us maybe around the 10 o'clock hour, and we talk a little bit of Power. Talk about Power, Raising Kanan. This is episode 3 recap. Starting to heat up now. Starting to pick up a little more. First 2 episodes were like setup episodes and went a little bit slower, but now it's a lot starting to happen. Not a whole crazy amount of action yet, but story wise, you feel the beats picking up now. We might, harp on that a little bit. Also, we've been preparing for it. We're gonna make our final decision, or maybe even start. I don't know. I got to talk to Ralph about it. And we start our tournament for TV's hottest female of all time. They're going to battle it out, the field of 64, and we're going to go all the way down to a final 4 and to a final 2 and a winner. And we'll go from there. So, back by popular demand. So that's cool. And everything else that we all talk about here on Real Talk. Keep it moving. Let me see here on this channel. I know that we were on our channel, we were only a few subs away from 15,000, a milestone. So what we want to do is make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We hit that milestone. I'm not sure if we hit it yet. I'm trying to look right now. We hit that milestone, man. We might give something away. I might just give something away if we hit that milestone. We get enough people in the chat room and we hit our milestone. I might just do a giveaway on the fly. Throw it up there. See what we gonna do. Maybe I'll give away some classic Michael Jackson stuff or something. This is Michael Jackson night. But anyway, we'll quickly go over the weekend recap brought to you by BoxOfficeMojo.com for the weekend of August 26th through the 28th. Number 5 on that list is Dragon Ball Superhero. No idea what that is. That made $4 million. Top Gun Maverick still in the theaters cleaning up some money. By the way, it is now available on digital. So if you could go to Amazon Prime or one of those places and you can buy it, they do not have a rent option. They are just cleaning up that money, boy. But you can now watch Top Gun Maverick on digital if you never made it out to the theaters. But if you're a theater goer, try to make it out to the theaters. I hear it's a way better experience, obviously. Number 3. Beast. That's the new film with Idris Elba. Right? That made this weekend another 4.9 million, almost 5 million, which brings the total to 36 million worldwide. Not a crazy. It's definitely not a chart topping right now. And number 2 is Bullet Train, made another 5 million. It brings its worldwide total to $173 million worldwide. And The Invitation, number 1. The Invitation, which now, it opened on August 26th, so it just opened this weekend. and it made $6.8 million domestically, a total of worldwide of $8 million. That is a horror thriller film. There you go. That is your weekend recap for the for the weekend of the 26th through the 28th, brought to you by BoxOfficeMojo.com. So, pretty light week in the theaters. That's something we'll talk about too. I'm going to bring the Jedi Council on with me, and we'll discuss that very quickly. There's some things going on with a lot of these studios and companies, and they're still not 100% back. The theaters aren't 100% back in action. They are, but they aren't. People still are not going out to the theaters, especially now. As soon as COVID seemed to have been tailing off, allegedly, then here comes the monkeypox. And now, people are now literally afraid to touch you, which is, so now I'm starting to see, like, what are they called again? Whatever workers, but essential workers still at work, but they're wearing like gloves, rubber gloves, stuff like that now. So it, lessens their chances of making contact with. So, because you got to go to the grocery store, you got to hand them their receipt. If they use cash, you got to hand them back their cash, their change. If it's at a fast food restaurant, you got to give them their food. You got to give them their change or their receipt or whatever, or even just give them back their card that they handed you. So, in order to keep these people a little more safe, they got them wearing like rubber gloves and brand gloves now. So, I'm wondering, which kind of leads to one of our topics during our trending topics was, Regal is contemplating filing for bankruptcy, Chapter 11. So we'll talk about that. We're glad to have you here. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Lala, what about Whitney Houston? Well, as far as biopic go, I don't know. What elaborate on that, Lala? What do you mean by that? You said what about Whitney Houston? Yeah, elaborate on that if you can. But yeah, we're happy to have y'all here and there, and we're here. You're watching Real Talk with the Director and Jedi Council. I'm the director. See the name right there. And I brought my Jedi Council with me. If you don't believe me, here we go. Ralph, Kev, y'all in the building. Welcome back, gentlemen.
What's going on?
What's going on? Hey, like I was saying, someone says there's a Whitney Houston bio coming this fall. Yeah, Ralph said that there's a biopic. So I guess that question from Lala was, what about Whitney Houston biopic? Now they've made a couple attempts at Whitney Houston. Well, they made one attempt at her biopic that wasn't that good, and her character, I think, did her character appear in the Barbie movie? Yeah, it had to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only saw the Barbie movie like 1.5 times, but I did like it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I happen to know a lot of the family members, like Whitney Houston family, and one of shout out to Romaine in the International Dynasty. One of the brands that I do business with, the owners of that company, actually, it's funny, they got 2 different generations of like legends in their family. One is related to Smokey Robinson, and the other one is a couple. One is related to Smokey Robinson, the other is related to Whitney Houston. So it's like, but yeah, I think now it's gonna. Ralph said there's one that's in the works, and we'll see. I'm assuming the family has kind of signed off on that one because I think this one's supposed to go to theaters if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's called I Want to. I think it's called I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Right.
I think that's what it's called.
So this one may go to theaters. But speaking, since we're on that topic, so here we go. Regal Cinemas. It says here the owner of Regal Cinemas confirmed on Monday that it was considering filing for bankruptcy, but promised, quote unquote, business as usual as it tries to shore up its finances. British company Cineworld Group said in a statement a voluntary Chapter 11 filing in the United States was one of the options it was reviewing in an attempt to reduce its debt burden. Meanwhile, Cineworld and Regal Theaters were open for business as usual. It added and would remain so. Cineworld would expect to maintain its operations in the ordinary course until and following any filings, ultimately to continue this business over a longer term with no significant impact amongst its employees. The company said in a statement issued its response. So basically, it says here the company stock fell another 20. It says right here, Cineworld crashed. Shares in Cineworld crashed as much as 80% in London on Friday after the Wall Street Journal reported that the world's second largest movie theater chain had spoken to lawyers at Kirkland and Ellis LLP to advise on bankruptcy proceedings in the United States and United Kingdom. Then the company's stock fell another 20% Monday. So that's 100%. It's about 20% Monday. The news also contributed to the plunge, of course. You know they do. And more than 30% in shares of AMC, the world's largest movie theater chain. Oh, the news also contributed to a plunge of the more than 30% shares of AMC, which is the largest movie theater chain in the world. So basically, yeah, the company blamed a limited roster of films for the lack of moviegoers, and the situation expects to continue until the end of November. That's a good question to start with on this part of the conversation. Is this right now what they're experiencing? Is it because of strictly people just don't want to go to movies or still scared, or some are and some aren't, or maybe they're just feeling the effects of the fact that the studios have keeps pushing their movies back and pushing movies back, and right now there's not a lot of movies coming out at this point.
Wrong. There's a ton of movies coming out. The problem is these studios are not advertising as much as they should be. The studios are not putting their money in their advertising budgets like they're supposed to. They're doing it for blockbuster movies, for big movies. Like even Wakanda Forever is really not getting a lot of coverage right now. Like mostly there are movies that I saw on a list that are coming out that I just started seeing trailers for about a week ago. And then on top of that, there's one movie, Pray for the Devil. That movie was supposed to come out, I think, this summer, and that got pushed back until October, which was the smart thing to do, to do it around Halloween. And then you got Halloween coming out. You got
Halloween
the movie
comes out in October.
In October,
right?
then
That comes out on my birthday, October 14th, and then I mean, there's movies coming out, but what I'm saying is, what are these effects coming from? Just okay, so they're not promoting the movies.
Yeah, because people are not seeing them. Like Beast is an excellent movie, but because again, and the other factor is that nobody's factoring in is that the word of mouth. If there's nobody in the theaters,
there's no word of mouth.
if you got 3 or 4 people in the theaters, who's spreading the word that this movie is actually really good? Like
Mm-hmm.
Beast is dope. Bullet
Mm-hmm.
Train is insane.
Well, Bullet Train made some money. It made over 100 million. Made 100. It's closing on 150 million. It
I
made
think
something.
just like even with Beast, I think that it's just that unfortunately, brown people do not want to see Idris Elba pulling what's call it, a complete polar opposite of Leonardo DiCaprio. He got
Mm-hmm.
beat up by a bear. He's getting beat up by a lion. No,
Right.
and some
Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. Amy, Amy
I
says
mean,
I haven't seen. She said I haven't been seeing any movies of interest. I think the last I was excited for was Us. Oh
see,
wow. Yeah.
Amory, that's a shame. But
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both. I think the bigger problem is the studios. The studios have notoriously packed the summertime with their tent poles and marquee films, and between the end of August, well, really August until now, everybody's saying Black Panther. I'm saying at least until Halloween. You don't have anything in there that's like eye catching. Say, "Ooh, I gotta go see this one."
there is.
Right? You
If
do
you
have stuff that come. You
Well,
do
what
have
is it?
stuff that come out where you could say, "Ooh, that looks interesting." Where then you can say, "Do I really want to spend my money to go see Beast, or do I want to sit on it or see the next thing coming on streaming, or next thing, or House of Dragons, or She Hulk or something?" But that's part of the studios going because traditionally the studios have their marquee films spaced out over the entire year because we know
Mm-hmm.
every single year you're not going to get the month you're going to get a movie that makes $1 billion, but you do have some solid. You got a couple of good doubles up in there. You don't always got a grandson. You got to get some doubles in there, but you just don't
Yeah.
have it anymore, and that's really the studio's fault. Like really, should Halloween come out in Halloween? Yes. All right. Yeah. You coming out 2 weeks before Halloween, yeah. But you can't
Yeah.
tell me that you didn't have something that's ready to go that you had pushed to December. You could have pushed it up into September. You really could
Mm-hmm.
have.
Yeah, well, true. Warner Brothers
But they
alone
want
has
to
pushed
they
back so
because
many movies that were supposed to come out
but
this year.
now you
exactly.
got for September, you got the Viola Davis movie. There are a handful of movies that are coming out in September. Again, it's just the advertising.
That
Hmm.
too. That
Well,
too.
yeah,
There really isn't any.
that's definitely now. I've only seen advertising through social media for Viola's film. I saw some social media advertising. Now it's pretty much it. The Woman King.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some
Like
other stuff that's
in the
supposed
old
to
days.
come out this month. See how they run. What else? Barbarian. Like I don't see other than the Woman King, and what else is supposed to come out this month?
But that's the thing. If you look at this list, right, there's nothing in the month of September that's really like, ooh, I got it. See, because I
In
think you
September
always
or
gotta have one where
December?
you say, ooh, I gotta September. Where sometimes you say, ooh,
No.
I gotta go see this.
Right.
Right? You like October, I gotta go see Halloween. November, I gotta go see Black Panther. And
Right.
just for the record, that the Whitney Houston movie is in December. I gotta go see that one. But for month of
Okay,
September,
that's in December. Okay.
right. But for September, you really don't see anything in that says, ooh. You get things
So
that
now
yes,
I'm
it
looking
looks
at a top
interesting.
10 list. Right. I'm looking at a top 10 list. So supposedly the Lord of the Rings, is that a theater movie or is that going to just be on Amazon? It says is Amazon's most
That's
highly
Amazon.
anticipated project. So it's not going to be in the theaters. They probably do a limited
Nope.
release, maybe. No.
No, that it's a
Okay.
TV show. It's a TV show. So
Oh,
that's
that's a
gonna be on their
TV
streaming.
show.
That's gonna be on their streaming service. So you got
Oh,
that.
got you.
How HBO just started running House of Dragons. You got She-Hulk going
Yeah.
on Disney
Yeah.
Plus. So you like, do I?
Andor is starting. Is that a movie? Or is that a show? That's a show too.
Yeah, Andor starting.
Andor's a
that's
show.
A show. That's starting at. I think that's
that
starting
starts on the 21st.
End of September.
Yep, September 21st.
So now you got
another show.
Like,
So I'm wondering now if this is also in the equation of part of the reason why, because there are some, some, like you just said, some of these things on this list that I'm looking at, the most anticipated things that's coming out in September. Half of these, if not all of them, are are on streaming, or they're TV shows. So, okay, Blonde comes out September 28th. That's the movie about Marilyn Monroe. Is that on streaming as well? Or is it? That's Netflix. That's Netflix. That's also streaming. So it could be a lot of things that factor into it, because, and as you know, what is it? Halloween is actually going to be in Peacock as well. So they've already made that decision. So they're doing that day-to-date thing with Halloween. I don't know if that was a deal that was made long ago. That's why they're still doing it, or they decided not to change it. Or maybe they're looking at the numbers in the theaters. I just ran over the numbers on Box Office Mojo. I mean, this
it's sad.
This weekend, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I'll go back to Box Office Mojo and let's just see if we can pull up some stats on there. They changed up the way Box Office Mojo is. It's really kind of pisses me off, but
But like I said, in October you got Halloween, and then bam, right at that you got Black Adam. So that's why when I heard people saying, well, they're not really anticipating the box office start getting hot again until Black Panther, like, no, because you got two very big killers, at least on paper.
Right, on paper, right.
The Last Halloween and Black Adam. And then you go into this November with Black Panther. And then December, you got the Whitney, you got Avatar 2 coming. And who knows what else? Because now that's when Oscar momentum starts coming up. But that's the studio's fault, because, okay, if you got Halloween one week and you got Black Adam, one of them, which is probably Black Adam, couldn't, since it's done, you couldn't have put it into September. Then you would have had an entire month run of you just would have been the movie to go see. Because pretty much, I think everybody is least interested to see Black Adam, if it's not just because The Rock is in it, not because superhero, because it's The Rock. They're at least interested, like, ooh, okay. I'm sorry. I mean Dwayne, because Dwayne is in it. They'll be interested to see that one. I can't call him Rotten Way. It's Dwayne, right? But everything else is just like hey, look, I wanted to go see Bullet Train. It's my fault I haven't seen it yet. I was going to go see it today, and then I go look at my movie list, and it doesn't start until 4:45 in the afternoon. I'm like, yo, it's still summertime. What's up with the matinees?
You know what, Ralph? But that's the other problem. They're not
times.
They're not. I'm used to, and Ralph can attest to this because he goes to movies about just as much as I do. I remember when movie times were like 10 o'clock, 10:30, depending on what movie it is. But
I know that. Yeah. I know in LA. Now, at times I was in LA, they used to have movie start at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was like, damn, but that's LA. But normally between 12 and 1, generally, especially, I mean, I get that it's Monday. So 12, 1 o'clock. If it was Friday, maybe 11:30 in the morning, maybe.
Even on the weekend, right? It's the same time.
Yeah. But today, that one looking, it said Bullet Train starts at 4:45. I'm like, I'm not going to the first show at 4:45. That's how it used to be when I was like 12 years old.
But a long time ago. But that also signals that theater is about to phase out Bullet Train. It's not pulling in.
Probably that particular theater is probably getting ready to get it out.
No, but all the shows were like starting at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So it's not just ordinarily I would be like, but all of them across the board were starting.
Well, you gotta remember that though. That's another thing. That is part of it, because they're probably trying their best not to offer many matinees because they can't afford it. They can't afford
Nobody's
to do
coming
it.
in. Nobody's coming in.
If people not coming in, you run into movies, and hell, they probably can't afford to slash the prices either.
The staff is
They
in there
need to
watching
get
it.
all of the prices. Yeah.
To
So
keep it,
Now
to keep it
you see on Saturday. You see on Saturday, right? They're having this national. I saw it say they're having this National Movie Day where I think it said that all day on Saturday, all the theaters are going to have like $3 tickets for movies. So they're re-putting back out Jaws. I think it said Jaws in 3D and
yeah, Kev said that to me.
Spider-Man. Yeah,
Mhm.
I might be interested to go see Jaws. I've never seen Jaws on the big screen.
I got tickets for Friday. Me and my daughter going on Friday to see Jaws.
Yeah, I would
Okay,
like to.
cool.
Yeah. Sure. Now, maybe what they should have did is have this National Movie Day and take a whole bunch of classic films, and you're gonna put on screen for one day, put them back with Jaws, Star Wars. Could we? I mean, it's ET's 40th anniversary. I haven't seen anybody really showing ET.
Nope, no, I got Ralph.
I know this.
I got to back you up on that one. ET has been out at Regal cinemas for about 3 weeks now.
I haven't seen it. I saw it. Now, what was funny is that when I was at Universal Studios last week, they were showing ET in the studio. That they were showing that one. Because Universal Studios has a movie theater in what's called City Walk, and they were showing ET. You know, I know.
Did they have it listed as a Fathom event? Because that's probably the other reason why you're not in all theaters. Because some theaters, all theaters don't always participate in all the Fathom events.
Yeah, but no, it wasn't listed in that. And I know this Saturday, some IMAX screens had a screen of Rogue One because it was a tie-in to Andor,
Right.
whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Andor,
but once again, very limited. Like I mean, I blame the theaters more than anything over anything because they're the ones that control certainly the advertisements of your films, the placing of the films, when is it coming out? So what?
Don't the studios control advertising more than the
advertising? Yeah. Both. They both have their faults. The studios definitely have to, put the money in the advertising and such. Let me say this. Let me say this with you guys while we're on the topic. I just ran the 2022 worldwide box office for the year, right? Just as just to see. So obviously, Top Gun is number one. It's still getting money. It's changing. So we have Top Gun, Jurassic World, which is right under $1 billion. It's worldwide. These are all worldwide numbers that I'm telling you guys. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is at 955. Minions is at 868. The Batman was at 770. Thor: Love and Thunder 746. Watergate Bridge, I had never even heard of that. It's at 626 million worldwide. It only made 117,000 in domestically, so it obviously was a foreign thing. It made 600 something million dollars foreign. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore made 405 million. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 made 401 million. Uncharted made 401 million. That's the top 10. Then you got Elvis, The Bad Guys, Lightyear, Too Cool to Kill. I have no idea what that is. Now you're dropping down in the 200 something millions. The Lost City, Bullet Train is still out. Still fairly new, but it's not new. So it's pretty much reached its peak. It's at 173 million worldwide. So Morbius is at 163 worldwide. So at this point now,
that movie made $1.
That says a lot, right? It says a lot. All of these numbers that I'm dropping on y'all because and there's some of these things I've even heard.
The fact that Bullet Train and Morbius are tied,
pretty much.
Damn near.
Yeah, Morbius about maybe 10 million behind Bullet Train.
I'm surprised Morbius even made $5. That's how bad I heard it was.
No, it wasn't. It actually wasn't a
That's what I
bad
heard.
movie.
That's what I heard.
It was.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
didn't like it at all.
That's what I
But,
heard.
you know.
They pulled, in my opinion, on that. Not to get off topic, but just to speak on it real quick. On Morbius, they pulled a Josh Whedon on that, and in the sense of the people at Sony stepped in and did whatever they did and decided to cut that movie short, because that movie was really short. Like it was shorter than it should have been, and that's why it didn't seem like a great movie, because you didn't get unless you knew about that character, you really weren't invested in it. So if
Like,
you're going to
why?
go see, if
Like,
you're
why
going
am
to
I
go
watching
see,
this?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So I
And
mean,
hey,
that right there just shows you where everything is kind of going. You know what I mean? It's a
hey, look,
little.
me,
It's a combination of everything of people. You know, all of this formula adds up to people not being out at the theaters. They're gonna go out. They're gonna make sure they go out in droves. They're gonna go out in herds to see the big blockbusters, Top Gun and
And
Jurassic World and Doctor Strange. You know, anything that's connected to the MCU. You know, Doctor Strange.
yeah,
You know, Thor. Like they're gonna go out and see those movies, right? The Batman. You know, those once again. I'm sure the the old heads are probably belly aching about it because these are all
but
pretty much
they are,
comic book movies except Top Gun.
mm-hmm. But they
And Jurassic World's not a comic book movie, but yeah.
but they are
I'm sorry, man. That last Jurassic Park was like, no, man. I was like, wow, this is how we're
again, that's another one
ending the
that
series.
the movie moved way too fast. They did too much with stuffing all the old characters back in it, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Right.
But to get back on your other point,
Stop
Wes,
doing so much fan service.
and that one, yeah, that's what pretty much.
Right.
And I like
that could be an example of what you say, Ralph, about too much fan service. Could
it's
be
definitely an
if it's
example.
I stand on what I said. What I said about I think the only way it could become too much fan service if it's not done right. Now, if you don't do it right, if you don't space it out right, you don't do it right, whatever the case may be, then it could become a mess. So that would be, but I mean, aiming to please the fans, in my opinion, is never a wrong thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's not
but in this case, they just stuffed it, like, that's both of these characters.
a big burrito. They just stuffed the burrito.
They just took it all, threw it in a wrapped it up, and was like, "Here, eat this. It's good for you. You're gonna like it." And you're like, not so much. It's good, but it's not it's not like the taco truck from Joe's down the block.
I've been seeing a lot of this lately too. The last Batman movie was horrible. So I've been seeing that a lot too.
I don't know where y'all got that thought from, man.
Funny as it sounds, hey, it's their opinion, right? But funny as it sounds, I've actually been now that people have been, I don't know, maybe they've been rewatching it or whatever. Now you can't say it's not. I mean, I can't say, you can say what you want to say if it's your opinion. You can say you didn't like it, and we thank you. For that comment, but so I'll just speak from my perspective. Like I said, as I watched it more, as any movie, you could watch things over and over again and start finding things that you would have probably done differently or what you think could have been better. But yeah, I stand on what I've pretty much always stood on. He's a good Batman, but let's, to be 100 about it, the only Batman that wasn't a good Batman in the suit was George Clooney, pretty much. He was actually a decent Bruce Wayne. He actually was a decent Bruce Wayne.
He got the Bruce Wayne part right.
Right.
That part he got right. Suave, kind of.
How could he get that wrong? He's handsome as hell.
Right. He's handsome. He's
smile.
suave.
Oh,
He is Bruce Wayne. He is Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, but I say again, I stand on this, and I won't, then I'll move on. I think Pattinson was a good Batman, but I think he was a terrible Bruce Wayne.
He wasn't.
Terrible.
I disagree. He wasn't a terrible Bruce Wayne.
I think
He was.
so.
Unfortunately, that was they picked the time and place of Bruce Wayne between him becoming Batman in full and brooding over the fact, my parents are dead. Like he's still.
Well, the way they wrote him helps that, but I also say this: I'm gonna keep it 100 too. I mean, this guy to me, and hey, I'm not a big judge of men's looks, but I know who's a good looking dude and who's not. I don't even think he's that good looking of a dude.
Yeah.
What?
He ain't got the real squared
vampire,
off.
not good
He ain't got the sparkly vampire. I mean, the young white girls, went crazy over him in the Twilight, but it was the way he was dressed in that whole Twilight situation. I was like, that's like a style and all of that stuff. It's like a culture, like the way that was.
The people were already in love with the character from the books.
Right.
So
right. They were already in love with the character from the books. That guy, his style, his look fits the it fits that dark, not dark, but that.
No, you
that
said it
whole
right.
look. That whole look, yeah. It fits that whole broody, that whole emo look. If his style fits that, but bottom line is that guy. Let's be honest here, and I mean, I wish this is why we need our female hosts in here. But I mean, the bottom line is you compare this guy to all the other ones. He's probably the worst looking one out of all the Bruce Wayne.
But you know what? He should have been. And I want to go back to my other point, but he should have been a Robin. He would have been better off.
He would have actually. No,
Robin.
You hit the nail on the head. He should have been Dick.
He could have been
Grayson.
a good Robin.
That's what he should have been. Robin. He would have been a great Robin. He would have actually been a really good Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing or Robin. He would have been good as that. And he, you know what I'm saying? He actually probably would have been a decent Terry, which is the Batman Beyond. He probably would have been good at that too, because he kind of fits that. Because Terry is the way that's what I said too. The way they wrote his character, Terry is a brooding character. He's angry all the time. And, he's got anger issues. Like he's, you know what I mean? So
following with beating up police and walking off like what?
So I mean, he actually probably have been a good Terry as well. Terry McGinnis, Terry McGinnis, who is Batman and Batman Beyond. They should, it would be great. I think this role was a little too. It's so messed up. I'm not trying to diss my man because he's a good actor.
I'm gonna say like
it's a little too manly for him. That's not.
I'm gonna say.
Come on, now
I'm gonna say this,
this
man.
role's a little too manly for him.
But this the thing, man. It's supposed if you think he's the worst looking Batman, but he basically gets the hottest chick that was in any Batman movie. Something wrong with that.
Well, yeah, you know what? But you know what? But see, I'm not really co-signing what I'm not really co-signing about what Wes is saying. But Ralph has a point.
He got
a point, but he's just the luckiest Batman.
No.
Luck of the draw.
Let me finish. Ugly dudes with money always get the chicks.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But I don't know.
I want to go back.
Like your man Jay-Z said. He said, "I can't be ugly." He said, "I'm a billionaire. I can't be ugly." He said, "How can a billionaire be ugly? I'm cute." Yeah, dude, it's crazy. No, but so anyway.
But I wanted to
get back to your point, Kevin. Then we'll move forward.
The other, God damn, I forgot my point. Oh well.
Damn.
No,
that was quick.
I said Zoe Kravitz, and he was like,
blah 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 blah. Yeah. Well, yeah,
I said
he
Zoe
gets the
Kravitz,
hottest
and you
chick
was
that's
like,
ever been
"Boo."
in a Batman movie, but that's just luck of the draw. So
I
it's
don't
what it
know,
is.
man.
I
I don't
mean, he
know,
gets
man.
Catwoman, whatever. But like I said,
But with the thing, oh, that's what I wanted to say. They were wanting and complaining in a sense. It really wasn't the old heads that were complaining, but what they were saying is, and this is kind of sort of pitching in a little bit into Ralph's point that he made a couple of weeks ago about superhero fatigue.
mhm.
Uh, they put that they posed that question, but the article that I was reading was basically saying that superhero movies are the saviors and big blockbuster movies are the saviors of keeping the movie theaters open, as well as they're saying that they could possibly be their demise. And I kind of sort of understand because we're kind of sort of touching on that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
where when there are no blockbuster films in play, and I don't call it
What's
superhero
left?
fatigue.
What's
I
left?
I call it blockbuster fatigue on the general moviegoer,
Mhm.
because people like us, and particularly I'm just going to speak for myself mostly. We're going to go to the movies, regardless to whatever. You might miss a couple of weeks here and there due to life getting in the way, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But you're pretty much going to see
Yeah.
on average 15 movies a year,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and that's not including digital. That's just talking about
It's
straight
just
getting
going to the theater.
Just
Yeah.
to
going to the theaters at least. I'm
at
I, I'm
least
I'm
15 a year.
clocking myself like about 40 movies a year, about at least 40 a year.
Mhm. That's
Mhm.
about.
That has always
Right.
been like my
But
minute.
you're not
That's
the
about
average
right.
moviegoer, Ralph. You're an avid
True. Very true.
moviegoer. So the
True.
average moviegoer will probably be half that,
It,
if
it,
not
it,
less than half.
and
If not where Kev put it,
yeah, it
it
have
might
to,
be
Yeah,
around
that
15.
15. That
Yeah.
15.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and that and again, on top of all of that, the other thing you could blame on it. I mean, I give AMC credit. They're not busting people's balls as much as they used to about people coming in with bags and having food. Um, but Regal Cinemas, except for the one in Westbury, across it, let me knock on wood.
Hmm.
You can go in there, buy yourself a large drink and
Hmm.
pack your bag out with food, and you can go in there and sit, and do a movie. And if you got their movie pass, it's even
Hmm.
quicker. But the sad thing, but here's the thing about that. That's the other decline of the movie theaters.
Hmm.
Because if somebody like me, before there was movie passes,
Hmm.
I would go see a matinee, and then I would pay for the next
Another
two movies.
ticket.
Yeah, pay full price for the next two tickets,
Yeah.
and then maybe movie hop here or there for the fourth movie. But
Right.
now the way they're spacing out the times, particularly at Regal, you can't even get into. You could barely get in two movies in a day
Yeah.
before
Right.
before
Before
you have
you
like, oh, I gotta go home. You
gotta go
know,
home. Well, you mentioned Movie Pass. Perfect segue. Movie Pass is actually returning. They're relaunching in September.
oh, gee.
You can get on like the wait list right now if you want to. They
Waitlist.
said Movie Pass. Yeah, they got a wait list. Movie Pass is the troubled subscription service that collapsed in 2019 after offering discounted theater tickets for less than $10 a month. Said it was relaunching next month, prompting skepticism from previous customers and the film industry experts. The company said it would open a waiting list, like I said, on Thursday for the new Movie Pass, which is expected to launch on or around September 5th, right? According to the website. The company said it would offer three pricing tiers: $10, $20, and $30, which each providing different credit amounts to be used towards movies Each month. And then it says here, blah 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 blah. There were warning signs the movie pass wouldn't survive. Okay, they just talk about the history of it. Movie Pass declined on Tuesday to answer any further questions. Yeah, I had got an email from them because I used to have Movie Pass, and I got an email from them saying, "Get on our waiting list." And I'm like, "Y'all still breathing? What are you talking about on your waiting list?"
Waiting list.
And they're like, "Yeah, you get on the wait." I'm like, "Waiting for what? What am I waiting for?" And then it's like, "Oh, they're relaunching." Okay.
Didn't somebody say
Y'all
do
on
not?
my waiting list. I'm waiting to see if it's.
I'm personally. Are you going to go back to it again, Wes?
Movie Pass? No, I don't know enough about it to want to go back to it. Because if that's the case, if I'm gonna go back to something, I might as well just go back to AMC. You know, like when I was
That's
or
what I
Regal.
right now. I
And that's the
have
Now
question.
Regal talking about this bankruptcy possibility. What's gonna happen if if you're part of their subscription service and stuff like that? Now they say that it's not gonna affect any of the customers. That's what they say, but we'll
Yeah.
see. But affected how? Meaning you'll still have the opportunity, but will the prices go up? Will the subscription price go up? Because now, obviously they file in Chapter 11 because they having finance problems.
but here's the
So, yeah,
I don't think it's going to, because when you file Chapter 11 anyway, it doesn't mean that you're closing doors and oh, woe was me,
It's just protection.
yeah,
oh, yeah,
it's just
It's just
financial
protection.
protection to keep you from going out of business. So you're just starting over from scratch again. You can't pay your debitors. It's just like, hey, look, I got a bill for 500,000. I can't take care of that right now. And then you
Yeah.
finagle stuff behind the scenes, like most people do when they file Chapter 11.
uh-huh.
You're supposed to declare everything, but some people still keep their car note. Because their bills are now down, they can afford certain, to keep certain things. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, I don't think Movie
Hey,
Pass
movie theaters, you
is
want?
gonna work. Movie Pass is not gonna work coming back because they're trying to be competitive now. But before, the reason why they worked because they were just flat out the cheapest.
but listen,
Yeah.
but not only, later, let's just later for them being the cheapest. Let them still be the cheapest. You're still not going to win this game against two of the biggest chains
Theater
in
change, yeah,
America that
because they're
that
not. They're gonna shut you out. Yeah, they're gonna shut you out. They do it
Yeah.
all. They basically took what you're doing and did it
And did
themselves.
it better. Did
Did
it
it
AMC,
better.
better.
AMC did it dope. Then Regal came back and did it, and then
Hmm.
Regal flipped it and did it
Yeah.
another way. So now you could see, like with AMC, you could see every movie, any movie you want to see, anytime from uh 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 from IMAX all the way down to a regular movie screen. RPX,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whatever it's in, and
You
AMC.
gotta do that, man. You gotta offer more things. I ain't gonna lie though, when Movie Pass first came out though, it was the ish. Cause yo, me and the wife, boy, we saw a lot of movies on Movie Pass. Yo, when it first came out, you
You
could
know,
go in the
wait a minute.
movies and just stay in there and just go to another movie, then go to another.
That's where Regal comes in. Regal
Yeah,
comes in where AMC is limited. You're limited to 3 films a week. Regal is like, listen, you can see as many movies as you want, but
which is the way it should be.
but the caveat to that is though, if you want to go see it in IMAX, you're going to pay 650. If you want to go see it in IMAX, you're going to pay additional, I think it's 450 or something like that. Or if it's in 3D, it's another 350. But here's the kicker: whenever you buy your movie at AMC, because you're a Stubs member, they waive the convenience fee. Not Regal
Yeah,
Cinemas. Regal Cinemas, they want their 50 cents.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
They
know
will.
something, movie pass. You know what you movie pass, right? You want to be successful. This is what you do, right? This is the only thing that would make me get movie pass, because if I get Stubs or I can get Regal. If I get your movie pass, it also has to include something with the concession stand where I get a discount. Listen, $10 for a small bag of popcorn is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is.
But
Right?
yeah.
Ralph,
Well,
If
yeah.
if now if
Stubs
movie
gives you a discount if you with AMC. You can get discount with
so does
concession because they
Regal.
give all types of and Regal too. They give you all
right,
types of bonuses So I mean, they're really fighting a losing battle because the movie theaters that most people are going to end up going to already have their own service, so they may not even accept Movie Pass in their theaters.
Yeah.
They might say,
Like
no,
I
that's
went
kind
to
of
this.
dumb.
There's a chain out that I went to a couple weeks ago, and Wayne. I think it's called Cinemark or something. That was a nice
Yeah,
chain.
Cinemark.
Yeah. Now I was quite impressed with the theater. That it was nice. It was state of the art. They had those reclining chairs. They I think one of the theaters had the D-Rock chairs. I was like, okay, all right. And it was built. It wasn't like they came in and took somebody else's property and renovated. It was like they built it from the ground up. I was like, but I was like, okay, I could see me going out here. Yeah, okay, more than AMC or a Regal,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't see the purpose of Movie Pass now, unless they give you something
they
when
missed
you
their
get
window.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they missed
and
their
the
window.
other guy, I remember we talked years ago about what's his name? Crap, what's his name?
Sean
the
Parker.
guy, yeah, his whole thing went up in flames. Like I knew it was. I know why he was going. Now he might, if he did it, probably maybe he had the idea that could have saved, maybe did something, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it just went the way the way the dinosaur.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it, man. Yeah. So, yeah, Movie Pass. You're done. No, it's messed up. I don't see them. I don't see them coming back successfully at all. Like we already pointed out for many reasons. One being that your competitors now are doing what you did and doing it better. And so how are you even going to compete? There, if I was still in Florida, there was one movie chain. There was one with the Epic Theaters, very nice movie chain, like of theaters. I would, like that's what I used to use Movie Pass to go to. But I mean, I went to all of them, but I like the Epic Theaters because they had nice big recliners, and that's like the only way. But I'm not in Florida though, boy. So I wouldn't get it anyway because if I was just gonna go ahead, I'd go back to like, cause I think one of those, whether it was Regal or AMC, I got an email from them too. Like they're still holding my account. They're trying to get me to come back. So they're like, yeah, you come back and business as usual. Like, so I guess like points that I had is still there, So they're like,
because usually they expire those points and toss them like, oh, so much for you, goodbye.
Yeah, I got an email that said they probably hold them for a certain amount of time and just get rid of them if you're not coming back.
But the other thing too is they're going to fight to hold on to subscriptions because that's their bread and butter, because they don't get that much money off of the movie anyway. So their money is mostly coming from concessions. So what they depend on is somebody like I gotta use me as an example. Somebody like me that has one daughter and two grandkids, and to go to the movies, it's cheap for me, but then I got to pay full price for them. So it's you're gonna do, what are you gonna do? You can't really effectively pay for multiple subscriptions, and then because then now all the kids got to have phones to be able to plug up their subscription, and if the kids aren't going to the movies that much, that's a waste of money. And especially if you hop around between theaters like I do, like I bounce between Regal and AMC. I can go to Regal and see two movies and then leave and go to AMC and see another two movies. So if it becomes a point of they depend on you to come, and every time you come, all right, especially at Regal, large popcorn, large drink. And
all I get is a drink. No, you know what irked me many years ago? AMC. Me and my ex-girlfriend used to go to AMC in the 90s, 2000s, and we would do like see 2-3 movies every Sunday. But they used to sell like these chicken fingers with curly fries. They don't even sell that. Some
Nope.
I don't know if all of them. Some of them don't even sell it no more. I mean,
They-
the Regal Cinema out in L.A. When I went there,
Yeah.
they sold these, which I thought was kind of cool. These Oreo churros. I never
Mhm.
had a churro before, but like I was like an Oreo
Mhm.
churro. It smelled so good, but I was like, I don't know if I never had a churro, so I don't know exactly what the hell it is. You know,
AMC still has those. They still have the chicken fingers. The curly fries, I think, are only at the AMC dine-ins that they
Mhm.
have. So that's like a
oh,
specialty menu.
Well,
But
the dine-ins are always great, man. The one down at Disney, the one that's down at Disney World, that dine-in theater is awesome. They got like gourmet food sometimes up in there. They be getting it there. You can get a like a bowl like a Chipotle type bowl there where you sitting there eating watch. Man,
wow.
that's crazy. I want to move forward. I think so. According to the Hollywood Reporter, which is one of the major trades, right? We all know that. According to Hollywood Reporter, The Flash has scored tested high or has tested. All right, let me actually read what it says here. It says Ezra Miller's The Flash has received among the highest test screening scores for a DC superhero movie since Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So, um, they obviously been testing test screenings and stuff like that. They've already kind of said that they've seen the movies and they're confident the movies are good. There's just some things that they want to tweak or whatever, course correct that whole brand of the Flash, which we also was reported by the Hollywood Reporter when they talked about Ezra Miller has finally went in and met with the Warner's executives and they're trying to course correct this whole situation with him. Probably telling him to freaking lay low and be ready to promote the film if need be. And yeah,
and,
and go from there.
and also they're telling him, listen, we need you to get it together because listen, you're unfortunately your film out of all the films that have come out scored the highest. So you, so
Unfortunately, yeah.
we need you.
Get your shit together
Yeah.
and
So
stop acting like a jerk.
so this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to this rehab. You're gonna get your mind right, and please
Hmm.
don't step out of tune because you're gonna commit suicide off a building one day for messing with our
Yeah.
money. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Just
Hmm.
do that's off. Discovery just paid. I don't know how much money they did to get Warner Brothers and to get DC and all of that. They ain't playing around. They're like,
Nope.
look, we understand that this is what works. Why you didn't stick with that? And I still don't understand why they would have a problem with Aquaman. I can't, unless they're just looking for a reason to remove Amber Heard
Yep.
from the film. That's the only
Yep.
thing that I can
Might be.
think of why.
They might be doing it. They probably. I can't see them delaying it again and not removing her. To be honest with you, if they delay it again, they might. I would say that they were definitely going to remove her
I mean,
or recast and reshoot her part.
because what exactly could you find wrong with that movie if it was along the same lines as the first one? So
Yeah,
I,
I don't
I
know.
think the addition, and also the other article about the addition of Ben Affleck, being seen on set. So he might have an appearance in the film.
Yeah, yeah. Ben Affleck is supposed to be in it because they originally it was supposed to be Michael Keaton, but they had to scrap all that because the Flash number one, the Flash movie hadn't came out yet, and number two, the things that they were doing with Batwoman, Batgirl, whatever. It does say here, Hollywood has recently begun to see an increasing number of leaks coming out of the test screenings. Not only has this led to certain details emerging, such as Amber Heard's Aquaman 2 screen time, so they might have just cut her screen time, if anything. But it also offers audiences a much stronger gauge of pre-release than ever before.
Thing, but can you trust that though? Because here's
Hmm.
what they're doing. They're not. And this is just, I could be wrong, and I'm saying I'm going to add the term allegedly. These studios, and we'll keep it specific to Warner Brothers. I don't think that they have a well-rounded, balanced audience. I think they got a bunch of grannies, a bunch of middle-aged snobs. They and so some people who are just doing it for the fact of just being able to go see screeners ahead of time,
Hmm.
regardless of the sign an NDA or not. You know what I'm saying? They
Hmm.
get in to see to see what's going on, and then they come out if they already have a negative outtake on the franchise as a whole, or
Hmm.
just superheroes as a whole, you're
Hmm.
gonna get a negative results. Like I don't get that. I don't
Well, I
understand.
mean, but that's kind. I guess that's why this is kind of like news because it hasn't been much more. Can't really find anything more that had more negative around it than the Flash. And because the Aquaman movie didn't have negativity around it, it was just the Amber Heard situation. But the
Hmm.
movie of the Flash, because the lead had so much controversy around him, it also says here, according to insiders, test screening attendees are asked to rate a movie as either excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. A score can be an awarded to a score can then be awarded to the cut based on the percentage of viewers who rated the flick in the top two categories. Early screenings of Batgirl, Shazam 2, and Black Adam all reportedly tested similarly in the low 60s.
Wow.
By contrast, View Anon and Big Screen Leaks have both claimed The Flash to be testing in the 70s, which is considered to be a high rating. The Flash received comparisons to the Dark Knight trilogy behind the scenes only adds to the understanding of why Warner Brothers has been so adamant to power through the Ezra Miller controversy, as it must truly be something special for them to deal with this jerk. So
I don't even know.
yeah,
I don't even think so. I
they
think it's
said
just a. I think it's just trying to put on like the brave face kind of thing, trying to
No,
put
I
the
don't
positive
think,
spin on it.
no, I don't think that's
no,
it.
no,
I
I definitely think
I
they're
don't
they're
think
this has definitely changed their. I guarantee you this test because look how many times look how they added, especially woman, even though this is a new regime over there, but test screenings makes a difference to these executives because look when if one of Snyder's movies didn't test right, then they're ready to just like pull the plug on everything. Hey, so the fact that this tested well, they're willing to say, look, let's get this out there and do what we got to do. Let's get this idiot together. Let's get himself together. Let's give him what he needs. Put him in rehab. Whatever we got to do to keep his behind, laying low.
yeah,
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 but
keep the
yeah, but
wigs
to
and
say it's like the
but
Dark Knight, like, I'm sorry.
They didn't say it was like the Dark
No,
Knight.
no, I'm,
They're
no, I'm,
they're
no, no. I
saying
said
facts.
no. I said that
They're
it
giving
tested
stats. It tested
like
as well as
the
now
Dark
what?
Knight.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a really. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. That's really lofty. I don't
I
believe that.
mean, they're not. Well, I mean, what's there not to believe, Ralph? They didn't say that it tested better than the Dark Knight. They just said it's the highest one since the Dark Knight. That's
That's
all
what I'm
it said.
saying. Warner Brothers, I has released several. If they're going to keep it the comic book movies, you have released several comic book movies since the Dark Knight. right? If you're going to sit there and tell me that this one tested, it's the highest one since the night, that means that it's tested. It had to test better than certainly Justice League, Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman. It had to test better than those. That's the part that I got the problem believing. That's the part. Not the fact that it tested better than the Dark Knight, but that it tested higher than any of those three alone. I give you Justice League, yeah, or Aquaman, Shazam. It tested better than any of those. That's the part I got the problem with. I don't believe that part.
But here's the thing: you got to remember.
What do they got to gain by lying about that, though, Ralph?
The positive spin. It's a positive spin thing. It's a positive spin.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you that that movie. I mean, number one, just the storyline of what it's dealing with alone is unprecedented. Even with what Marvel's doing, to now see what they're going to do on their scale with DC and a multiverse. That's first and foremost. But secondly, you got to remember too that they're just saying that, look, this is where, or if the scale from 1 to 10, they're rating a 7, Dark Knight rated an 8, maybe, if you want to say that, maybe higher. The second highest movie to that. So it's not saying that, hey, look,
it's Flash, not comparing it to Dark Knight. It's not saying
that is not what I said. I'm not what I'm saying. That statement said that this movie has tested is the highest tested, and I'm keeping the comic movie. It's the highest tested comic movie since The Dark Knight. Okay, great. Now there have been a bunch of other comic book films that Warner Bros. Released since The Dark Knight. So you're saying that this Flash movie has tested better than Wonder Woman?
Yeah, all of them other ones. Yeah.
Ralph, the other thing you got to remember is the Donner effect.
The Donner effect.
Superman coming out. See, we've already had a litany of Batmans before we got the Dark Knight. So then the performances in the Dark Knight from everybody was just way above par. So that movie was just it was just an anomaly, so to speak, to a degree at the time that it came out. Now, since then, we got better effects, we got better and then you got to remember too, also on top of all of that, Nolan, when he does films based in reality that we live in. So dealing with physics that we live in, so there are a lot of factors that factor in when they say, it's the highest testing score since The Dark Knight. Remember everything that's come in between The Dark Knight and now, and all the controversy behind the films. I mean, let's just take Batman versus.
You could throw out most of the Zack Snyder films. You can throw out, even though we know that they were still good, but because they tested bad, that, and then Justice League wasn't even Zack Snyder's film.
But I could start those things and say, okay, you're saying that this Flash movie tested better than Man of Steel, or like I said, and I'm just gonna keep it to just Man of Steel or Wonder Woman, just either of those two. I'm not even gonna throw it. Justice League is the only one I'm just gonna sit there and say.
It doesn't mean it's a better movie, Ralph. It's just saying that it tested it. I mean, they're just reciting the numbers. They're saying that it tested higher.
But that's the part that I don't believe. I cannot believe that this Flash movie.
So okay, you right. I understand that. I understand you don't believe it, but what do they have to gain by lying about that? You know how much of a chance they're taking even doing this film?
Right, the positive aspect, because they know they got a project that, realistically speaking, it just reeks of failure because of Ezra Miller. It reeks of failure. They're gonna say whatever gotta say. They make the public.
But if the movie's good, though, whether it reeks of failure because of him, but if it's a good movie,
but right now, we don't know that. We're going to go with what you got to report, right? Like you saw something said this movie has the highest tested movie since The Dark Knight. You're like, oh wow, okay. That
But
increases
Ralph,
your
but
aspect
Ralph,
to say,
but
hey, I want to go see it. Now, if you were sitting in there, if you were sitting in that theater and you saw the test of the
you
Flash,
can't take it from that perspective, Ralph. You
what other
cannot.
perspective you got?
You,
What other
you,
perspective do you have?
you have to take it from the perspective of the people who viewed it. Now, here's how I'm going to put a pin in all of that. When those numbers came out initially, when that testing happened, this is before the controversy with Dude acting crazy. Those test scores were in before the Dude started acting crazy. And the only reason why we know about the test scores is because Zaslav went before the board and fought with the board to go forward. Like the board was like, no, we're not. You canceled Batgirl. You canceled. It was something else they canceled. Batgirl and something got canceled.
The Wonder Twins thing got canceled.
But a bunch of stuff was probably on the slate that got canceled, and they're like, well, if that's got to go, well, quite obviously Ezra Miller got to go because he's a problem. And then Ezra was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Here's the data. He's showing them the numbers. Here's the data.
And remember, it's not Warner that's giving these numbers out in these reports. It's this just big screen leaks. These are places that judge this stuff or whatever, or tally it or whatever. It's not Warner Brothers that's giving that out. That's what I'm saying. So it's just like and of course, Ralph, nobody's naive here. Yeah, anybody can try to spew numbers or whatever. But the bottom line is, it's not coming from Warner Brothers. It's coming from outside companies that have no reason to lie about the Flash movie.
You mean the company that Warner Brothers hired to do the screenings?
What does that mean? What does that mean, Ralph?
Just think about it.
First of all, no, I don't think about it, because a lot of these places doesn't necessarily mean that they're just hired to do the thing. That's just like when press screens and stuff like that. When the press goes and screens stuff, they just go and they write about it, right? They get an early screening and then they go and write about it.
They write about it. Yeah,
so there it is. So I mean, like I said, it's easy to say that, but you're making an assumption based on just because of the fact that you just believe that the Flash movie isn't gonna be as good as any of those other movies. Wait, and testing higher definitely doesn't mean it's better. It all depends on who's watching it, how they feel about it, blah blah. So that audience that watched it rated it the way they rated it. So who knows? If you were gonna do that and run it against the other people, we don't know. But it doesn't mean the movie's better.
I never said I think that the Flash movie is better, and I never said the Flash movie is worse. I said, but just that language, that is the highest tested film. And I said,
I don't see why that's so hard to believe for you, though.
Because although I am very vocal in my distaste of Warner Brothers, I cannot look at the side and say that everything they have, all the comic movies they have made have been trash. I can't say that. I genuinely did like Man of Steel. I certainly like Wonder Woman. I like Suicide Squad, the second one, and the recent Batman, all done by Warner Brothers. So when you said to say it's the highest tested movie since The Dark Knight, I could understand. The Dark Knight came out last year, and this is coming out this year. That's a different story. There's a big gap in between 2008 to 2022, yeah. And there's been a lot of other things that come out there.
You're only making this assumption based on movies that you've already seen.
Movies that you've already seen. Yeah, of course, because I saw the movie.
Okay, you saw them, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible for this movie that you didn't see to test higher than those other movies that you did see.
I'm still not saying that it's not possible. I just say I don't believe it. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, look, listen. There are people that believe in witchcraft. I don't, just because I don't believe in it, that don't mean it ain't happening. I mean, that's the truth. I'm sorry. You got people that believe in magic.
Yeah.
that believe in psychics. Simply because you
Yeah.
don't believe it does not mean that it doesn't happen. I'm just
Right,
sitting there
right.
saying,
Okay, so
me,
you don't believe it, but I mean that's your
my
prerogative.
opinion. That's my opinion.
That's your opinion that you don't believe it.
Right. Now,
You
maybe
know,
when the Flash comes out,
my opinion is no, you can't go by that again because then that's just you judging the movie. That has nothing to do with a test audience rating the movie. What you think
wait,
about the movie has
wait,
nothing to do with that.
and also I'm looking like this too. I'm probably going to guess, and I could be wrong here, that the people they had there watching test screening of the Flash were comic book fans.
Now you can't. You once again. You can't.
I'm taking. No, wait.
That
Listen. I'm just taking a wild guess. I'm saying I'm not sitting saying. I'm
That's
just saying
what
a
it
wild
is.
guess.
It's a straight wild guess. It's random. You know that.
Ralph,
Because of the fact that if it were people that were non-comic book fans, right? Would they have been so like eager to sit there and say this movie is great if they just go based on the movie because it is a comic book movie? Whereas if you had comic book fans that were fans of the genre, would it not be a better resource?
Ralph, to be honest with you, Ralph, that's the whole purpose of these of these surveys when they get people to come in to do these screeners. Most of the people that they get to come in to do these screeners, 9 times out of 10, you probably got 5 comic book fans that are true blood comic book fans in the whole crowd of 80.
Right. You know that we've all. I assume we've all maybe. Have you ever been to a test screening, Ralph?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've all been to test screening. You know how it goes. You don't even know what you're watching.
Nope.
You don't even know what it is. They don't tell you.
Listen.
And then it comes on, and then you rate it.
Right,
So
they tell you when it's about to start. You're about to see this.
So that's what I'm saying. So the chances of most of that theater being comic book fans, that's not a huge chance. Now the chances of most of that theater being fans of comic book movies, that's a high probability because obviously almost everybody is now a fan of a comic book movie. That's why they do so well in the theaters.
Hold up. Let's rewind a little bit. Ralph, I'm going to take you back to when the first Batman came out. What year was that?
1989.
89.
Okay, no, not that Batman. I mean the new one with Nolan's Batman. The first
2005. 2005.
Okay, 2005. Yes. So I was dating Ramona then. We were 2 years in, and our favorite movie theater was
your camera's on. I don't know what we're seeing.
That's like a hand.
That's your hand.
That's my hand.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was like, what's that? Some new... that was a new effect. I thought a new optical effect going on there.
But we were going to go. I can't remember what we were going to see, but we were going to see a completely different movie. And we got there, and this old couple, out of the blue, just walked up to us and said, "Hey, you want these tickets? We're not interested in seeing this." And we got to go see the Batman. And I looked at the tickets, and I was like, "You're not what?" And Ramona looked at me. I looked at her. We was like, "Thank you." And we walked into the theater. But that just gives you a kind of a gauge of we were going into, and I don't even think that was a test screen. And I'm thinking about it. I think that was a radio giveaway where they. But at the end, they did give us surveys at the end to that's how we liked the film. But I said that to say, like, even the person that was given free tickets was like, this ain't for me and my wife. We don't want to see this. And they passed the tickets on to the next person who just happened to be a comic book fan.
Right. Well, the bottom line is, I don't really think, I mean, I'm not trying to change your mind about how you feel, Ralph. I'm just saying that as far as it being a certain, type of crowd, whatever, I mean, hell, who knows? But I know what I can attest to is I've been to a test screening, and I know that when you get there, you don't know what you're watching until right before the movie starts. So, because you literally think that it's something else. You don't even know what it is, really. You just be wondering, I wonder what it is. I wonder what this is.
Hmm.
So, and then it happens. I mean, but I don't really see why, you know, test screenings obviously don't mean anything because you mentioned two movies that you liked that tested badly. You said you liked uh Suicide Squad. That didn't test good.
The second one, not the first one. I
Right.
like the second
You
one.
know what I mean? Right. So I'm just saying. So test screenings doesn't really judge how good the movie is. It just judge how much the people that was there enjoyed it. So the fact that they enjoyed it and that it tested that high, that's why it's news because it tested, you know, because of. I don't think it'd be such a big deal if it wasn't so much controversy around Ezra Miller in the whole thing. But once again, the controversy around Ezra Miller does not change the fact if it's a good movie. Doesn't change that. You know what I'm saying? If the movie's good, who gives a shit? Ezra Miller is an idiot or whatever. Doesn't matter. A good movie's a good movie. I mean, hell, a lot of people. Marlon Brando was a jerk to people in the
He ain't that
industry and
kind of
stuff
jerk.
like that.
But he wasn't that
But,
kind of
no, I'm
jerk.
just saying. But I'm just using that as an example.
Oh.
But his movies were good. A lot of his movies, a lot of his roles. So, bottom line is, that's just like saying Kevin Spacey, or that's just like saying, yeah, Kevin Spacey because all of the controversy he's come into. That don't mean the movies that he did were bad are gonna be bad. Even if he's in a movie going forward, don't mean it's gonna be bad. It may affect who watches it because of people having personal in their feelings, but it don't mean it's bad. So, and neither does this test score. And I don't want to. I'm saying this to you, and I don't want to take away from whatever win that they're just trying to. At this point, they'll take any win they can get when it comes to
Of
the
course, Warner Brothers
Flash.
gonna take any.
Right, they're gonna take any win that they can get. Man, this not to take away from them. It doesn't mean that when the movie comes out, it ain't gonna be trash, or the movie comes out, it's not gonna be as good as maybe we thought. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It might come out, and I was like, damn, this was better than the Dark Knight. I could say
You
that.
could.
And
You
I
could
might
say
say
that.
shit. This, and then I might turn around and say, no, this is worse than Batman and Robin. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you could
I don't
say
know.
that. You could say that, but that's what I mean. So I'm assuming most of the time, when you do these ratings, when you rate a film and stuff like that, that's why to me, it's not the process is never right. I don't rate films just on my first experience because you're in a movie theater, you're having a great experience, you're out, you're having this, you're that. I don't rate movies that way. I have to see the movie a few times and break it down before I rate how good I think it is. Because if you notice when I talk about a lot of stuff, I'll say I enjoyed it. I say that a lot. That's what I say a lot when people say, "Oh, this movie was great," and I'm like, I enjoyed it, and that's where I leave it because I haven't really watched it yet. I watched it, I enjoyed it. That's step one, so that's 1 point on their side. But then I'm gonna go back and watch it again and break it down, and then I'm gonna come back with how I really feel about it, which is kind of what I did with the Batman. I enjoyed it every time I saw it, every time I watched it, but also every time I watched it, there was things about it that I was like, nah, or if I was to compare, which I don't, it's not fair to compare that to any of the other Batman movies because it's a different movie. So it's not fair to compare that. So I don't do that. I never do that. I don't like comparing stuff to Nolan stuff, whatever. It's different takes. It's always been like that with Batman. So, but bottom line, long story short, or to end this portion of it, yeah, we'll obviously have to see what happens. And Ralph doesn't believe it. He thinks Warner Brothers is lying for whatever reason.
I think they're lying.
I don't
I
think
don't
they're
trust
lying
Warner
because
Brothers.
it didn't come from them. It wasn't their so it didn't the source wasn't them. The source was more than one different, companies that tally this stuff up or whatever, to observe it, whatever they there to do.
And Ralph,
So
if it's in, wait, what's just one last thing. And Ralph, if it's any comfort to you, most of that Warner Brothers staff was already fired by the time this board meeting happened.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, this guy here, I have to, if nothing else, I give this guy credit, Zaslav, because he's really trying to course correct. He's really trying to do the right thing to get, because he sees and knows that DC it can be and is the cash cow for Warner Brothers, and that can be
That's true.
a heavy major reason why Warner Brothers makes money, pulls in the money. And I mean, it is now. Even when people don't like, even the ones that are considered bad, the people still go out and see these superhero movies. They
That's
go. I
true.
mean, these comic book movies. They still go see them.
It's
You
gotta be.
know.
It's gotta be awful for someone to say, "Nah, I don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see it."
They gotta
But
go see it anyway because they want to enjoy and have that experience. So they're not going to sit there and be like, I ain't gonna see it. Now they might go see it and say, oh, it sucked, but they got your money already. So
the one thing I will say is what Ralph was talking about last time about superhero fatigue. Now, I don't think it would happen, but if Zaslav gets DC up and running to the same level or beyond what Marvel is doing,
mhm.
there will be there will be a little bit of, you know what, it's a little too much.
And to
I
be honest with you, to add to that, Kev, honestly, if anything, since although we know, I say we, when I say we, I'm referring to comic book fans, but we know that Marvel isn't tailing off really. But since you got the average moviegoers or whatever that say, yeah, I think Marvel is tailing off, or they don't think these next two phases are gonna be that great, or whatever the case may be. Well, if there's any truth to that, now's your time to strike. If you're DC, get in there
Yeah.
and get the attention, because Marvel got their stuff spaced out. They got all now you got all their dates and stuff like that. You need to start getting in there, get these movies. And but one thing he did say, he's gonna focus on quality. And
Mhm.
like I said, they mentioned that the other movies, Aquaman and Black Adam, did not test very well, right? So he's focusing on quality. So according to what he wants to do, they're gonna, go ahead and push this Flash film, and they're going to tweak whatever they feel they need to tweak on the films that didn't test, to their liking. But he said personally that he saw all of the films, and he said they're good films. He said it's just some things that they need to change or correct or whatever, add to whatever he said, make them better. That's what he said.
That's
So
what I like. He's saying that, but at the same time, he's still looking for his own Kevin Feige so he can move
yeah,
out and let
yeah,
some.
of course. He's looking for, and the guy that they kind of are in talks with.
Maybe
What's his
he's the
name
guy.
again? Yeah, they're
Maybe he's
saying
that
maybe
guy.
we never know. He might be the guy. He's got some what you call it says here. Um DC's quote unquote Kevin Feige has reportedly been found as Dan Lin takes charge of film and television division. Warner Bros. Discovery is reportedly close to finding its head of the DC films, as producer and former WB executive Dan Lin looks set to take over the studio's film and television division. And it says here, it looks like one of the okay. Uh, we recently learned that studio was searching for a Kevin Feige type to take charge of the brand. Okay. Dan Lin, the executive turned producer behind major hits such as the live action Aladdin film, the Lego movie, and the It movies. It's part one and two, is in talks to take the role of DC chief. So, should he land this gig, and negotiations are on the way, are underway, Lynn would oversee the film and television arms, reportedly reporting directly to Zaslav. See, that's definitely a Kevin Feige because he
Yeah.
reports directly to Iger or whatever. And
It's like I want to give Warner Brother a chance. I feel like perhaps they have earned a chance to say.
I mean,
okay,
they've been around forever. They
it's
they
taking
shit.
too
They
long.
had the first comic book movie. You know, I mean, they can't be terrible forever. Why were they
I don't
terrible?
know.
Why were they terrible? Because you said the latte drinking, the tattoo habit, but they're gone. Those guys are gone.
I swear we should have had that needs to be on a T-shirt. That by Warner Brothers. You latte drinking, tattoo ankle having, yoga pants wearing executive. It
They're
needs to
all
be on a
gone
T-shirt.
now. They cleaned house in there. It's,
I need an Ari Good. I need
Hermana.
an Ari in there. I need an Ari Good
Yeah,
up in
right.
there, Warner Brothers, to just clean house, get it
Yeah.
done. You know, like Lloyd, just get it done.
Yeah.
But not only are they all gone, he also said, and I can't remember the article that I read it in, but quote unquote, I want the Warner Brothers. He basically wants the Warner Brothers out, but he wants the Warner Brothers name to be reestablished
Mm-hmm.
of being the powerhouse that it is.
Yeah.
See,
And that's his goal.
and with
I mean,
that,
that's
even-
the right attitude.
But even with that, it's not the Warner Brothers name that needs to be reestablished. It's just the DC. Warner Brothers is fine. Warner Brothers is always putting out movies that we like, that does well.
Mm-hmm.
It's DC. You need to rebrand DC, make DC a powerhouse in conjunction with Warner Brothers, right?
Well, that's why that the guy that Wes just mentioned, why he was hired, why he's in talks to become
Yeah, make it happen. Make it happen. I'm gonna give you, and I'm not dumb. I know it's going to take a couple of movies to quote unquote steer the course correctly. I got that. I got that. So yeah, it may take,
and it might be starting with the Flash.
It might be starting with the Flash. It might take 4 movies to redirect the course. Flash, Shazam, Aquaman. Okay.
You can't count those movies.
And the what you call
and
it?
Black Adam. It might take those 4 to start to turn, not completely change it, but just start to turn the tide. People say, "Damn, I start seeing what Warner Brothers is trying to do." I could start.
Also, before we move on to talk about the tournament, I have also been reading. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff popping up. Now we know that Batman, in some shape or form, appears in the Aquaman movie. Now I've read reports. I thought I put it in the room. There's reports of Gal Gadot popping up in several DC movies coming up, including possibly The Flash. This is what they said. Now, I don't know if it means they've already shot her. I don't know if they plan to shoot. It might be. And when you say pop up, it could be an after credit scene, which is something you can shoot completely separately and tack it on the end of the movie. But they did say that she was set to come back as Wonder Woman and be in several, before they make another Wonder Woman movie, be in several DC films, including possibly The Flash and one of the other movies going forward. So okay, that would be cool. I mean, you need to start. That's really what they need to start doing, in my opinion. They need to start rounding up and solidifying their trinity, because at the end of the day, With all of the DC movie, at the middle of the DC universe stands the trilogy, the Trinity: Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. You need to get that solidified. Whoever it may be, is it if it's going to be the ones that was there already, whether it's Cavill, Godot, and Affleck, Cavill, Pattinson, Godot,
Phoenix.
whatever it is, yeah, Phoenix, whatever you're going to do, you need to get that Trinity established, because everything else falls into place from there. You
Well,
know,
I think if they're going with if they're supposedly sticking to the Snyder universe or mythos,
mm-hmm.
then I think that's already been established. I think what they're going to have to do is
No, because
start.
they still haven't. What I mean by establish is let's solidify it. Let's confirm it. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Because yeah, let's confirm it. Yeah, because they still haven't. There's no new news on Henry Cavill returning as Superman. I
Nope.
mean, I have in my heart of hearts, I believe that they will make. I believe if he doesn't return, it's going to be because he decided not to. I think they will make a play for him eventually, because it is the smartest thing to do, and it is a very stupid thing to have to go and try to recast a Superman at this point, when we've only
One.
gotten one movie from him as far as a solo movie, and a total of what, only 3 movies from him.
I said all the time, Warner Brothers, look, 3 Godzilla movies, 1 Batman movie. I mean, 1 Superman movie. Something wrong with that.
Yeah,
Something real
as I
wrong with
said,
that.
yeah, right. You got one Superman movie since the old Superman movies, and it's like, come on, guys,
But 3 Godzillas.
3 Godzilla
3
movies.
Godzillas, 2 Kongs, two different Harry Potter, one Harry Potter
It was
franchise
more. I
ended.
think it was more than 2 Kongs, wasn't it?
It's 2 Kongs.
2 Godzilla movies, 1 Kong movie, then
No,
Kong
2.
versus Godzilla.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's I counted that one. It's a Kong. It's Kong is in it, but 3
Then
Godzillas,
then the world.
2 Kongs. You ended the Harry Potter franchise and started up a Harry Potter prequel, but 1 Man of Steel. Something really
Yeah,
wrong with that.
there's something wrong with that, and that was one of their better movies that came out of there. So that's what we do. So we'll spend the last few minutes, 15 minutes of the show. Let's finalize this
You know what,
tournament.
man?
People have been waiting on it.
I gotta say this again. The next time I come up with some brain idea like this, you need to stop me and say, "Look, stop it. Just stop it."
It's a
Right?
lot of work.
It is.
Now,
It is.
I did throw that in there. Remember I threw in my honorable mention, at least honorable mention, because I thought
Yeah.
she was always thought she was hot, which was Tina Louise, who
I
played
can't have
Ginger.
both in one. It's
Yeah.
got to be doing Wells. But I'm gonna share this with you guys. I told you I'm trying to work on commercial. I actually started making this commercial. I'm gonna just show you what I'm thinking of so far. Right? It's not a lot. It's only about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. But it's kind of where I'm going as so far. So I'm gonna show you this thing. And we're going. How we? Oh, playing. Wes, you're gonna have to. It's not going. Is it gonna?
It's not letting you share screen.
No, because I'm in
Let's
the
see.
wrong.
Wait, I see you. Let's see if I can.
There we go.
There you
All
go.
right, this is where I'm going with this thing. Little, somewhat cinematic with this thing.
Hey Texoma, I'm Samaria Terry, the newest addition.
As a struggling actor, I need all the breaks that I can get.
Oh, hi. Hi.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Sorry. I couldn't find my earring. So what were we talking about, huh?
All right, that's all I did so far. What I was trying to do, right, because I was having this comment, my first thought was the television, right? I wanted to zoom in on the television. But then I started talking to people saying, no, like, what is your routine when you walk in the house, right? Like, how soon do you walk in the house and you actually turn your television over? Television on? And some people tell me something, but I just kind of scrapped it because I thought it would be kind of stupid. But I wanted it to be where like the television comes on. That's why the first thing is a news broadcast like this, like you see, like when you go to work, you turn the TV off. But generally, when you come home, what you want to watch it's not on that station. It's news or a commercial, and then bam, you find what you want to watch. So that's what it is. Like you see a news broadcast and then the commercial, but then you start seeing, which is Penny saying hello. So I was trying to tell like a story, and then I'm gonna add a voiceover where I'm gonna delete the sound out from the shows, and just gonna be like quick flashes of some of the girls in there, and just basically say how we're doing this tournament. We're doing it in an NCAA style tournament to find out who was the hottest girl of all time, and then at the end, like which one will it be? Pamela Anderson? Is it Nicole Jennifer Garner? Is it Jessica Alba? But I know what I wanted to do, I wanted to have the very last shot of the scene because I wanted a good outro, and I wanted to get a shot of Kim Fields saying smooches, right? And like smooches to the crowd. But I couldn't find a really good one. But instead, I found something better. I found something from Tisha Campbell, which I started about. It was like, I like that one better because she's talking to Martin on the couch. And she says something like, well, it's too bad because if you was here, you would get this. And she sticks her leg up in the air and she's got these red pumps on. And Martin is like, those are the red pumps. And she's like, yeah. So Martin, he looks for a second. He looks at the camera. He was like, peace. And he hits the clicker to turn the television off. So I said, that's going to be my end. But I'm going to keep it. I want to keep it to about a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the max. That's it. And try to put like real quick flashes of everybody that's in the tournament. I'm trying to get all 64 of at least like a second shot in there of everybody. I may not be able to do it. I think I can do it. I'm gonna work all this week to get it done. And before we actually show it, the finished product, I'm sending it to you so you can take a look at it and see what you think about it. But that's my idea for right now. And yes, Kevin, your girl, Felicia Rashad is in there. I'm a double dip with. I got 2 shots of. Actually, I got 3 different shots of Felicia Rashad in there. I'm going to use at least. I think I'm going to use all 3 because she's doing like one is the one where she broke her foot and she did the spin. She with the
I remember that
with the cane. But
yeah,
no. I was looking online. Felicia Rashad is being put as she's the queen of the side eye. You know. Like when she's talking to Cliff, the side eye, but then I got a scene where she's saying, which I'm gonna use like saying like if someone doesn't watch it, where she says something, she's like because you're old and tired, you know. So it's that's my idea for right now. But it's just taking way too long trying to find 64 shots, 64 clips of everybody and edit it down to 1 second. You know, it's like, oh my God. That's why I said next time I decide to do something, you fly up here and you slap me and say, what are you thinking? Because it's too much.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I mean, shoot, damn. You know, we got to do one. The one for movies is going to be retarded. That's gonna be.
But that might not be so hard because it's. If we do a 20 movies, it's easy to get 20 movies. I could just take 10 from this person, and since I'm already familiar with the movies, try to remember something that they said in the movie. So if I want to tell that kind of story again, but this is vastly different. It's vastly different.
Oh yeah, it's the most definitely. Yeah, I mean, so we gotta the brackets. They're filled out, or
we could do the brackets on Monday. I pretty much got it filled out, but if we wanted to change them or like say no, I don't like that matchup, we can switch it around. But it's doable. It's very, very doable.
Okay.
Yeah. So like bracket, like I said, the brackets are done. But we can put it out to everybody, see if they like it. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm trying to get this commercial done. And hopefully, like in a day or 2, I can have this in. I've been working on this thing for like a week, 2 weeks now. Just getting all the footage and editing it down. I'm in LA. I should be out there enjoying the 103-degree weather. I'm in a room saying, I gotta find it. So, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it should be. either way, this is gonna be a crazy tour. I know people probably like, when y'all gonna do this damn tournament?
We're gonna do
But
it.
you were out a couple weeks. Just like I pushed back the Last American Virgin thing because I wanted you to be back when we do it. So that's gonna be sometime next month as well. But yeah, if we can, I guess next Monday we'll go over the brackets.
We'll go over the brackets. Hopefully, I had this commercial done. We can go over the brackets, and then after that, then we can start going into cutthroat because it's gonna be vicious.
Yeah.
I already see some people some of your favorites gonna get knocked out early, and I think there's gonna be a surprise or two in there. I'm already saying Felicia Rashad getting knocked out first day. I'm just saying, because I'm hating.
Oh, just because you want to hate on Kev.
I'm just trolling. Felicia Rashad can get knocked out the first day.
Trolling Kev.
The first day, the first battle, she's getting knocked out.
Lord have mercy. Felicia Rashad is fine on a whole nother level of fine. She's fine fine. She's one of the finest, and didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? She did it with her clothes on.
And she taught you. And she taught you stuff.
She taught you shit.
Here's the thing on top of what. Not only was she a dope lawyer in the show, but how many of these women on this list can say they're no makeup fine?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's a good. I'm gonna say
we might want to add that.
Maybe,
we might want to add that to the criteria.
Maybe 20%. Maybe. But that's interesting.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was watching. We got the one that should have been on the list is on there, and when I'm talking about Alyssa Milano. But I used to love watching Char, man. I actually used to like all of them. And the funny was,
you know how many episodes I've seen since we did this a Charm? Because I was in Vegas. It was on. Wait a minute. Vegas. Let me ask you guys a question. Why am I paying all this money for a hotel room and you don't even have a HBO or Showtime in the room? You got TNT, TBS. Look. I don't need 16 ESPNs. Can I get an HBO? Can I get one Showtime?
That's
I'm just saying.
Package for every hotel room is the basic package, unless you want a penthouse suite. That is the package.
I've been in plenty of hotel rooms that's cheaper than that. That's had all types of HBO and all this stuff.
I'm in the Palms.
Vegas, crazy. Yeah,
I'm in the Palms. Palms. I don't need 16 ESPNs. Could I please have one Showtime or one HBO or one Cinemax? Just one.
Let's stop deterring from the fact of what I said. No makeup fine, and y'all already eliminated some of them, like Gabrielle Union got the boot.
That's because she's a movie star.
Right.
But you know something? I found this, and this is just for Kev. I found this on and I saw this, and I was like, although I had to edit it down, I saw this, and I said that's if I put this whole thing in, Kev is just gonna have he's just gonna orgasm himself. So I'm gonna show you. Where's it at? Oh, here it is. Right, Wes, if you can play this. Yeah, play this. That just popped up.
Shake.
You lost your mind. You owe us $79,600.22, and I want my money now.
I remember that. Yo, she's the best, man.
Yeah,
she's great.
Yes, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're supposed to be at the hospital delivering twins. I delivered them already. Well, go back and get some more.
Go back and get some more.
Take that dress off. Put it in the trunk. And don't think of defying me ever again.
Yeah, it's gonna be real sad when she's knocked out in round 1. Sorry,
Oh
Kev.
Lord,
Sorry,
it's
Kev.
stupid. You wildin'.
But I saw that
Yeah,
the other day,
well,
and I was like, man, I'm gonna play that for Kev, just for Kev, because he loves appreciating.
yeah. The bottom line is, like I said before, when it comes to the criteria, she is leaning. The odds are in her favor
She's
because
gonna be hard to beat.
her impact. Period. You know,
Listen,
she changed how black women started looking on television. She really
Mm-hmm.
did. She
not
changed how black women started looking on television. Black
only on television,
wives and mothers on television.
but in
Mm-hmm.
public. They're like, yo, if Claire Huxtable can look like that and got the same attitude I got, let me
Mhm.
get up off my butt, roll my hair up, get myself together, and when I walk out the door, I need to look like something.
Mhm.
Something
Yeah.
my father beat that into, literally beat that into me. Boy, I don't
Yeah.
care if you're picking out the garbage. Look like something when you walk out the door. Claire
Yeah.
Huxtable did that. Okay,
Yeah.
and also she not, and her other impact is showing a black woman as a professional.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she
Like I
had
was
her
saying,
moments on the show where she was, a little frisky and sexy and I mean we look at the beauty, just at the beauty alone, she's sexy anyway, even when she ain't
mm-hmm.
trying to be. But that, she had her moments on the show with that. And I'm telling you, boy, like I said, before her, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but I'm just saying, before her, black mothers on television looked like Florida Evans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is not a knock on Florida Evans. Look, but what I'm saying is, they looked like the woman at home and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was a working mother and wife, professional, like Kev just said, and still bought it every episode with the look, with the attitude, with the sexiness, even when she wasn't trying to be sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Her impact was huge
Yeah.
And
on the culture.
talk about something that Wes just said. Not only did she do all of that Wes said, but on top of all of that, she came home and still cooked dinner.
Hmm. Right,
Mm-hmm.
she was a true working mom and work wife. Right? She come home and still do the.
Anything, I swear to God, I think when Bill Cosby, and again, I don't know if it was him, but I'm going to give him the credit for it.
Yeah,
When they came up with
he
these
had
characters,
something to do with it.
he came up with the ultimate. He's like, how can I make this character flawless to where I don't care who you are, you can't have nothing to say. Black
Yeah,
people can have nothing to say about her. White people can't have nothing to say about her.
yeah.
She floats. She floats down the middle so well that,
Yeah.
like literally, this is why I say she's on the Mount Rushmore, because
Hmm.
she's just, you can, where can you knock a dent and a flaw into her character?
Hmm. No, you're right. You're right. So, well, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the impact on these characters having, and I was looking over the list the other day. I was showing it to my boy Bruce. Shout out to Bruce, who my man just did his vow renewal and stuff like that, and that was really cool. But I just what somebody say here? Oh yeah. So I was showing him the list, right? With the pictures, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, wow, this is a good list, man. It's gonna be real tough. I said, yeah, it's gonna be real tough. I said, but uh impact when I was explaining to him our criteria that we're putting together, with impact being part of it and stuff like that. And he's like, oh yeah, immediately, obviously he said, Claire Huxtable. A couple other people jumped out at him. When you talk about just straight impact, take away the other stuff, straight impact, Claire Huxtable's still in that list. on our list, definitely Daisy Duke is in there because that was an impact. That was a clear impact. They got a whole
Yes.
god darn clothing. They done renamed the damn shorts Daisy Duke shorts. You know what I'm saying? That's an impact on the culture, right?
Farrah
So
Fawcett, another impact moment.
Farrah Fawcett,
Farrah
big
Fawcett,
impact,
yeah.
big
Pamela
impact.
Anderson.
She was one
I
of those
think
people that
those
also
5 women.
changed. Yeah, I think that she also changed for her time how women, were looking on television. When she came on, and now everyone needs to look like Farrah Fawcett. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you mentioned what you call it too, Pamela Anderson, same thing. There was so many people. Hell, Hugh Hefner himself was every damn bunny he got had to kind of look like
Look like Pamela
Pamela
Anderson.
Anderson. She was a big impact as well. Let's see. Amy says, "What? How can we talk about white people being racism when you want to separate Florence, and Claire because of which one you're attracted to?" As she said, see, you didn't get my whole comment there. That let me clarify what you're saying, or what I said, so you can understand. I said again, Claire Huxtable character changed the way black women and mothers were on television were portrayed going forward. That is a fact. That is a fact. That's why her impact is a big factor here. And that's why we have a criteria on this whole contest and tournament that we're doing. Because it isn't just about how attractive the person is, because that's subjective. That attraction, an attraction of a person is subjective. Some people look at, someone will look at one person, one character, and say she's attractive, and someone will look at another character and say that she is more attractive. So it can't be just on attraction because that's just too subjective. So we going by criteria. We're going by criterias that we put in place to kind of push that whole thing around. So, and I said, and to when you said I made a reference to her looks, yes, I have to use the word looks. I said it looked women on television, black mothers, black wives, mothers on television prior to that had a different look than Claire Huxtable did. Post Claire Huxtable, they all started looking like that. They started pushing that professional, working, whatever, working professional, but still looking good. Working class woman, black woman. That was pushed. So, that's pretty much the that's what my statement basically meant. But thank you for the comment. Clear. To clarify that, like I said, it's a fact. If you watch television, as long as we've been watching television, you see there's certain moments where looks, trends, and certain characters changed, and it kind of started following that route. So up until that point, if you take some of the big, what you call it, like let's just say Louise Jefferson, she wasn't really a professional woman. She looked, sometimes she wore suits and she looked like because she had money because she was, her they had money, so she looked professional at sometimes and stuff like that, or she would wear a suit. I wouldn't call that professional. I just call that she had money, so she was wearing nice clothes. You know what I mean?
When she was working, when she was on All in the Family, she was always dressed as a maid.
She was always dressed as a maid. Exactly.
Nell Carter always dressed as a maid.
Right. Nell Carter always exactly. That was a look that was the look that they were, that was being pushed at that time for black women on television. And when Claire Huxtable character came into play, that's a look that they were not going to get behind. They weren't going to push that look or that narrative. They're going with, there are other women out there. Black women do other things. They don't just clean houses. They don't just,
cook your supper
cook
and
your
wash
supper
clothes.
and they do other things. They actually work too. They can do working mom and still be a mom and a wife and still be, whatever. So it is a fact that Claire Huxtable represented that shift in the look on how sitcom mothers, wives, black, I should say, right, were portrayed from that point on. And it wasn't even just sitcoms and mothers, because the whole Living Single was that. You know what I'm saying? The whole cast of Living Single was basically a bunch of young Claire Huxtables.
Girlfriends.
Say that again. Say that again for the people in the rafters, because they didn't hear.
The entire, and Ralph just mentioned girlfriends. When you look at Living Single, girlfriends, all they are is a bunch of young Claire Huxtables, just single Claire Huxtables. None of them were really married and stuff like that. So that was just from the single woman perspective, but it was the same formula, basically. That like we said, Ralph helped me mention some of them. Give Me a Break, All in the Family. That was before the Jeffersons. We count Louise and All in the Family as well. Good Times. There was a certain look. Black women were portrayed in that light. Now, if you be true to yourself, you know that we speak in facts here when it comes to that. And if you don't know, just go back and watch. Pull up the stuff and see exactly what I'm saying. Pull up those shows. What's Happening? You know what I'm saying? Pull up those shows. Mothers. So like I said, so when I say the word looks.
Oh yeah, What's Happening? Yeah.
Yeah, What's Happening as well. When I say the words looks, I mean a look, the way they're portrayed. That's the difference that I'm saying. So and she said Viola Davis is what I would say she, but you're making my point, and Viola Davis still faces those struggles today. I'm not sure exactly what struggles you're talking about, because Viola Davis in her television show is once again a professional. When we talk about How to Get Away with Murder in her television show, powerful, professional, woman, just like they did with Scandal, because it's the same creator. So I'm not sure what you meant by that. She faces those struggles today. That's not this. We're not talking about the same struggles. All I'm talking about is how the characters. Really, the reason why I'm even talking about it is because we're explaining why Claire Huxtable's impact on television was the character of her impact on television, which was played obviously by Felicia Rashad, who brought it home. Why it was so impactful in the first place, right? So it was so impactful that's what the whole point of me bringing that up. Her impact was so impactful that it actually made a shift in how Black women were portrayed and looked at on television, and their look all together. That's it. So that's what it is.
I might, something. Not to throw that out there, but when we're talking about impact, I gotta give Felicia Rashad more credit, because when Bill Cosby did his next TV series, the girl he had playing his wife, he got rid of and brought Felicia Rashad back to play his wife again, because they just had that kind of chemistry. I mean,
right, when you had that happened. That happened on another show too. That happened on
Yeah.
the King of Queens.
Yeah,
And
he
then when he
brought.
came back and did his other show, he ended up bringing her back too. Because sometimes when you got that chemistry, and then once again, and then so Amy says, and you were talking about looks. I was talking about looks. I have to talk about it because there was a look, but I did not say this person's more attractive than this person. It wasn't looks far as attractive looks. It was just a look because we're talking
The
about impact.
appearance.
Right,
The
appearance, the
appearance.
look, because of the impact. Now, judging their looks is a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother category, which is one of the criterias as well. But that's not, that wasn't what I was just talking about right now. When I brought up, that's why I said I knew that I was gonna have some people who say something when I said before Claire Huxtable, all of the women looked like Florida Evans. And that's what I said. Yeah, they did. Because if you go back and watch those shows, you'll see that's what they look like.
Yeah,
As far
but
as appearance goes.
But Amy, if you're talking about the struggle that Viola Davis has, that's Viola Davis, the actual person, not her character on How to Get
Not her
Away with Murder.
characters. Right.
That's a vastly different story, and that's not what we're not talking about the actresses that played the role.
Yeah.
We're talking about the roles themselves. You
Yeah.
know,
We're talking about the characters, Yes, the actresses obviously because they
Right, the
played those characters, but they're only on this list because of a main character that they portrayed. But I'm not talking about colorism. Now that's a
No.
whole, you said, and I'm talking about colorism. That's not what I'm talking about. Because
Yeah,
how could I be talking about colorism? Because Claire Huxtable, it's not like Claire Huxtable was light skinned. She was a brown skinned woman. So I'm definitely not comparing her to Florida Evans because of their skin tone, because Claire Huxtable's skin tone is about the same as Louise Jefferson's skin tone. They're about the same skin tone. Maybe Louise
Claire
a
Huxtable
tad
is
shade.
much lighter than Louise Jefferson.
I don't say much lighter.
I
Maybe a
think
shade.
maybe a shade lighter, but
Yeah.
but
It
obviously
had nothing to
Amy,
do with colorism. Yeah,
but obviously Amy
I think you're off
confusing it.
track on what we're saying. We're not even talking about colorism and how whatever. I'm just talking about how a character is portrayed in a certain period in time, and then how it changed once this one character hit the airwaves. Then they saw Claire Huxtable character showed us and showed everyone that a black woman can be professional, look professional, and still be a successful character. She doesn't have to be the stay-at-home mom. She doesn't have to be the maid, or that's her job. They gave her a professional job that no one else had prior to that show. It gave her a lawyer. She's a lawyer. Everyone else, like we said, go to the shows prior. Give me a break. Maid, housekeeper, or whatever. Louise, before they got rich and moved on up
She was
to
a
the
maid.
deluxe apartment, she was a maid.
Wait,
Right?
hold on, Wes. Hold on, Wes. And here's the killer term on the colorism. If you look at the female characters outside of Mary Tyler Moore, all the female characters up until that point were pretty much what? Housewives,
Yeah.
meets,
Yeah.
whether white or black.
Right. Yeah.
It only got
Yeah.
expounded to the legal profession as if you're seen required it, as in Mary Tyler Moore, because Mary Tyler Moore, she was a television producer or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
So in her case, and even in her case,
Right.
she set the bar back then, and then they dialed it back.
Yeah.
Right. Just and with that, with you bringing that up, that also heightens her impact.
Mm-hmm.
Because as women, period, but it's just even more impactful, I think, because it was important for a black woman to be portrayed that way because she's never been portrayed that way up until that point. So that's what I mean. So once again, I think because I used the word look, you're still stuck on looks. I didn't even mention shape. She said, "Oh well, what are you talking about? Shape?"
Amy.
I never mentioned shape. The word shape never came out of my mouth.
Amy, let me try to explain it real quick, okay? Because I don't know how old you are, and I don't know what your television history is, but in the 70s, when black women started coming on television, including Diane Carroll, they were all dressed up as maids, right? Look, you can look at old picture of Diane Carroll, what's happening, like I say, Give Me a Break, so on and so on. It wasn't until Claire Huxtable came along the scene, right? And this goes for white and black women, where they said, "Hold up, she doesn't have to be a maid or the girlfriend. She could actually have a role, right?"
But not
you
only
had a
she
couple of people on television that did have roles. I mean, I certainly would put, like you said, Mary Tyler Moore. I would put Ben the girl that played One Day at a Time, Bonnie Franklin. But then look at the other landscape of television. The woman that played Alice, she was a waitress. You know, I mean, Mrs. Garrett, she was a maid. Those were those
whatever she was,
housekeeper. That's what we're talking about. The look, not the physical,
right? Not the physical. We're talking about the look being as they're portrayed, not saying their looks, not comparing the looks to, not comparing a look of Florida Evans look like this, Claire Huxtable look like this, and this is better than this. No one went there. All I said is it's just another term of saying how they were portrayed. It's still a look.
And even look at it like this too. Now you got everything you just said, right? Even with Diane Carroll, even with her, because what she was doing on Dynasty was happening before the Cosby Show, and it still had no end. And then even look after the Cosby Show, it still didn't really. They reset it almost to a degree.
Yeah. So
it wasn't until
we're gonna let Amy come on because she wants to. So she wants to say how she feels. So I'm cool with that. I sent her a link to jump on if she can. You know, we'll do that and then wrap the show up. But yeah, you know, hopefully she can express whatever it was that she thinks that we were saying. But you know, once again, it's all about what I stand on what I said because it's the truth. It's the facts.
Right. And like you said, look at it. Like you said, look at it post Felicia Rashad Cosby. You went into Different World. Then we like you said, we count Living Single, Martin, Girlfriends. I mean, hell, even if you want to be technical, Family Matters, Soul Food. Look at the progression. Look at the progression of how the women are portrayed, not what they look like. Take that out. How they are portrayed, and look at now with all the shows that's on BET, Sisters, all these women. Yeah, you have women that look super sexy, and something looks like so-so, and something looks like like goddamn. But we're not talking about that because, like I said, that this right here, this face is all superficial. It's all superficial, right?
Yeah.
You had Halle Berry on television, and she was nothing more than a glorified girlfriend. That's all she really was.
Right. Yeah. So now let's see. She's in the green room here. Let's see if I can get her on. So yeah, let's welcome Amy on with us. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
How are y'all doing tonight?
We good, man. We good. We appreciate you sticking around and listening to the show and giving your thoughts and opinions. We appreciate that 100%, and we appreciate you jumping on because a lot of people I always offer and people don't do it. So we appreciate you jumping on to make your point because I want to hear your point. I just wanted to clarify with you because I believe and your points that you made are not wrong, but I believe that you in my opinion, I believe that you missed what I was trying to say on the part because you said I brought up looks, but I really just I just used the word look. It looked like this at one point. Now it looks like this after this point. And that was to prove the impact of that character to a certain type of character in television. That was my point.
I got you. However, and I'm glad the gentleman brought up Martin because I think overall, if the overall theme of what everyone is talking about right now is the progression of representation of Black people in the media, right? And how we've grown and how, that helps us in everyday life or in real life, right? Because if we can see Claire Huxtable on a screen as a lawyer, or if we can see a representation of a Black woman doing something, prominent on TV, then our kids, us, we can aspire to do better in real life, right? Because art imitates life. That's the overall theme, right? That's what that's why we're talking about this, right?
Well, art imitates life
Partly.
doesn't necessarily mean that life imitates art, but art imitates life, meaning not to say not to just inspire. I'm gonna add to what you said. It's not just to inspire; it's just to educate, to let you know that there are people out there that look like this, do like this, act like this, work
but
like
not
this,
only that,
whatever.
our kids can look at Felicia Rashad and say, you know what, I can be a lawyer. Or our little, our sons can look
I mean,
at a Black.
I agree with that. This is my personal opinion. My personal opinion on that. I don't push that narrative because the role model, in my opinion, starts in the home. But that's just my opinion. I don't push a narrative of this person on television. That should be a role model for my kid.
I'm not saying that because of course, those things factor in.
But what
But
you're
I'm just
saying is
talking
right.
about
I
simply for the
agree.
conversation that we're having right now.
I
When
agree.
you're saying there was a revolution because, Claire was, represented this, it showed us in a different light. That's simply what I'm saying. Because of course, that's a broader conversation of, parenting and all that stuff. I'm not talking
what
about
you're
that.
saying is not wrong, though. I was just telling you my opinion of it. Yeah. No, you're right. So keep making your point.
That's gonna go into a broader thing, and I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about the conversation that we're having now. It sounds like you guys are talking about, our representation as Black people on TV and how it kind of, helped us in the media because, of course, only white people were the ones who were, shown as wealthy or prominent or successful. But then you have this revolution where Claire comes in, a representation of a Black family, successful, etc. So that's what we're on, right? That's all I'm just trying to confirm.
Well, just to confirm. Wait, I'll let you make your point, Kev. You're almost there. I never mentioned the media and how it's portrayed in the media. I'm just saying. All I mentioned was television.
I'm just saying that you guys were talking about how things changed for how Black women were, the image of us were portrayed, and how it was changing, right?
Yeah, how
so
clear
that's
the point of that just to drive that home. What you said, the point of it from the beginning is to show the impact of that character, that particular character. So go ahead.
On a broad spectrum, and I kind of shut down the whole colorism thing, or it just being limited to just to brown people, because we're not Black, we're brown, we're all brown, we're not Black. Black is a term that was assigned to us by the American government, but that's a whole nother conversation. But my general overall point was that Claire Huxtable, up until that point, both black and with the exception of a handful, Mary Tyler Moore, hell, even Lucille Ball, who was the runner, she owned the show, ran
Owned
her
the show.
show.
She was a housewife.
The dim-witted
Jane
housewife.
Meadows on the Honeymooners, the same
Right.
thing. She
But
was just the house, and all their husbands refused to let them work. They was like, "No, you're just supposed to stay home, take care of the house, take care of the kids." Even Carol Brady, if you really want to be technical, Carol Brady was just a stay-at-home mom. She didn't.
Right, and those are not even black
Alright,
characters. Yeah.
But what I was trying to say,
my whole point was to say
okay,
is that Claire Huxtable, on the whole paradigm, not just for brown women, but also for women in general, set a new standard. Because not only, because if you really look at it, this is the reason why I think Cosby his show got ended, and A Different World and all of that got ended, because we were starting to project like, wait a minute, they're showing themselves on the same level as the rest of us. And not only are they putting themselves up, but they're also showing the real dynamic of what real women are, which is your point as well. I think that's one of your points of what real women are in actual life. Like there are working moms. There are women who have six-figure salary jobs and still run their households.
So come on and do the household. Now, Amy, go ahead and make your point. Finish your
I
point.
agree with everything that you were saying about, Claire and the imagery and everything like that, right? Because if we were talking about, brown people being showed in a positive life or successful families, etc., right? But what I did hear you say, and maybe maybe you did not mean it that way, but you mentioned looks, and you made, you kind of, regressed a little bit and said, well, I think you didn't want to say what you wanted to say because you kind of said, well, Claire.
Because I knew that this would happen.
But stand on it though. Stand on it. If that's
I
how
stand
you feel,
on what I said.
stand
More
on it
100%.
because I feel like when you say it and you don't understand the impact, then there's nothing, that we can do as a community to heal from stuff like that, because you're just keeping it in. And all of us, I feel like everybody, no matter your color, your skin, have some sort of bias or something that we were taught, whether it's consciously or subconsciously through the media, whatever it is, because of, the TV, what we watch, and, how we've been treated. So, I mean, stand on it. Say what you're saying. You think that Claire looks better than Florida Evans.
Nope, that's not what I said. That is not what I said. That is not what I said. I will not stand on that because that's not what I said.
Let her finish.
Okay, go ahead. Speak. Let me speak. So you mentioned looks, and this is why I said shape, because you kept saying you were not talking about skin tone. So that's why I said, well, what were you talking about? Her shape? So black women or brown women, if that's what you prefer to hear, come in all different shapes, sizes. And we, some of us have big noses and big lips and stuff like that. And this also, because I've heard other even black men complain about, or, black men complain about being dark and not getting the opportunities that they want to go on TV, or if they do get the opportunity, they have to do something, that's like, they feel like it's beneath them, or something that's belittling and degrading to them. And I may or may not find, another black man attractive or not for whatever reason, but I am not going to belittle, his impact or hold on, let me finish. I'm not going to belittle his impact or, pit him against another black man, because in some way, shape, or form, he is still us. And so if hold on a second,
go ahead.
If they, if we are only accepting of the the person who passed the paper bag test, because Claire is lighter. And that's the huge difference between Florida Evans and Claire. She is much lighter than Florida Evans. So when you said looks, I said, if you're not talking about her skin tone, or even
It,
if it's her
it,
shape, she has black features, period. So
that, that,
we need to be standing behind her in whatever impact she had.
that's
We
But
couldn't
you,
even
but
get on.
hold
Amy,
on,
Hold on, let me finish
hold
what
on.
I'm saying.
I know
Because
what she, I know where she's
okay, but
getting.
you're
I know
not
what
letting me
she's getting.
finish, and I
Go
let
ahead,
you
finish
talk.
finish your thought. Finish your thought.
I want you to finish your point, but I also want you to be clear on what he was saying. When he said looks like, he meant, how can I put this?
the
He
character.
Look at the
I will.
characters.
The
Just
character.
do your
Amy,
research and you'll
Amy,
understand what I'm saying.
Amy,
Come on,
Go
Amy,
you
look
said
at
it was
Amy.
go
easier.
look at
He
what's
said one was
happening.
easier
Go.
to look at than the other, and I
I
said,
No,
did not say
no, Amy,
no, I did
Amy,
not. Do not put
Amy,
words in my mouth. I did
Amy.
not say that
Amy, let
at
me ask you a
all.
question. Let
but
me ask
then
you a question, Amy.
you said you're not
Amy,
talking about color, but then you made a reference to the girls on Living Single who are all light.
What does that
but
have to do anything? That's
Amy, and no, that's not true because Candy Alexander is a darker skinned girl. But Amy, let me ask you a question. How old are you?
That's irrelevant.
Well, the reason I'm asking that question is because what Wes said was that look at the characters that Black women played on television. They all look like a maid. So I'm taking it that you sound kind of young. You may never have seen um, uh, "Give Me
what's
a Break"
happening.
or "What's
Give me a
Happening"
break.
or
Or the
the
All in the
Jeffersons,
Family.
All in
Because
the
you know the
Family.
Jeffersons, the Jeffersons is a spinoff of All in the Family, right?
Right.
I don't know if you know that or not, but it is. So when the Jeffersons with Wheezy, Louise, when she was when they were in All in the Family, they were, they were just working. They hadn't blown up yet. They hadn't become rich yet. She was also portrayed on the
as a
same
maid,
thing as a maid.
and it
Or
wasn't
that look,
right.
whether it's a maid, a house mom, a housekeeper, whatever, it's still a look.
Candy
That is a
Alexander,
specific look.
let me tell you something. Candy Alexander is nowhere near the skin tone of Florida Evans.
I don't know
Nowhere
why
near.
you're still on skin tone. We're not talking
Amy,
about skin tone.
we are not talking about.
I'm responding to what he said.
Okay.
We're trying to explain. We are not talking about the skin tone of Florida Evans compared to Candy Alexander, compared to Jasmine Guy, we're not talking about. We're talking about the role that they actually played on television. If it's,
right.
I put like this example. When you were in the 80s, okay, a lot of the guys in the 80s, they dressed what we call bebop wear. They were dressed in Kangos and Adidas suits and Run DMC, trying to look like a Run DMC. They birthed the hip hop. You don't see that nowadays. They have progressed from that particular look to how you see guys now. When you used to see Black men on television, they used to be portrayed in sneakers, jeans, holding the basketball, afros. You look at Black men on television now, you don't see that. You very well may see them play basketball, but they're looking very professional. They're looking like the head CEOs of companies. That's what they look like now. They don't look like how they did in the 70s. And that's what we're saying. When the ladies of the 70s, 60s, 70s, when Black women or women in general, they were portrayed as domesticated, a housewife, a mom, a maid, a caregiver. They weren't dressing, they weren't being portrayed as lawyers, doctors, police officers, CEOs. And it really wasn't until Claire Huxtable and to a degree, Joan Collins, when she's the head of her company. That's when that whole tide started changing. So when we're talking about the look, we're talking about the look that they played on the show, not their physicality.
Not their physicality or
The
physical
role
look.
they played on TV.
Right.
How
That still falls under a look. It was that was the role, the look. Now, what the stuff that you're talking about, you're not wrong about. I'm not, but that's not what we're at. That's not what we're talking about. I'm not going to tell you what you're saying because the points you were making are good points. But that's what I'm saying is you missed what I was trying to say. I did not make a comparison to who looks better than who's shaped better than who. These are whose skin tone is better. That none of those things ever came out of my mouth. All I talked about was a look. No, you can't tell me that it didn't have to come out my mouth because I say what I mean and I mean what I say. I don't mince words for no one. And if I feel a certain way, even if it is, I feel this person is more attractive than this person, I'm going to say it. I don't care what anyone else feels. So but that wasn't what I was trying to say at all. and it was nowhere near. It was nowhere near what I was saying, because we weren't even discussing Claire Huxtable's at that moment. We were not discussing what Claire Huxtable or how Felicia Rashad attractive. We were talking about one of our criterias on this thing that we're doing is impact, because if you're doing a competition or whatever, a contest, whatever you want to call it, you have to have a criteria. So one of our criterias was that particular character's impact on culture, pop culture at that moment. That's why it's not Claire Huxtable was just one of the people, because I could take, like I said, I mentioned you could take freaking what's her name, Farrah Fawcett from way back in the days, Charlie's Angels. Her look, meaning the blonde hair, the this or whatever, that became a look that was pushed as a narrative for women, white women at that point
Jennifer
on television
Aniston with that haircut.
Right.
When Jennifer
Right.
Aniston came out on Friends with that haircut, everybody was like, I got it. They even said, I got to go get the Jennifer Aniston cut. Because of the haircut.
That's all we're talking about when it comes to.
All right, if you were not talking about looks, or if you want to digress, that's fine. And then
No, you're not going to do that. He wasn't digressing.
I wasn't digressing.
He's not digressing from what he said. He said looks.
Maybe you can
if you heard what Ralph said when he said looks, that's exactly
go back and review what you said to see why it was interpreted that way. But earlier, one of you brought up Martin, and Martin is another great example of how Pam was treated. Now you have to remember, these women are not necessarily choosing these roles. These are the roles that are available to them. And like I just said earlier, Viola Davis, who has been in the game for years, talked about her struggle, talked about how they treated her, and the roles that she would get compared to her counterparts.
Yeah, we know
also
what you're doing.
That's a whole nother show.
But
go ahead. Finish your point.
You're woman-splaining to us. Like the reverse of mansplaining. You're woman-splaining to us. We know Viola's story. We're a huge fan. As a matter of fact, I'm
you don't want to hear it, is what you're saying. You don't want to hear it because you
we heard it.
But what I'm trying to get you to see is you're misinterpreting what he said.
I never said. Listen to me. I never said. You're over talking, and that's like every time you have spoken, I allow you to speak. I don't understand.
Yeah. But this is the that you finish your point, and then I'll respond.
To say like you're woman-splaining. What does sex have to do with anything? And then you ask me about my age. That those things are relevant.
Let's not get off track though. Let's talk.
I'm not
finish
getting
your
off
point.
track. I was disrespected. I'm just responding to that.
Wait, Amy. The only reason I asked you your age, right, is because
you want to use those things to,
No, I do not. No, I do not. No, I do not.
I'm a woman. So now you're telling me I'm a woman.
I'm gone.
No. Amy. The only reason I asked you your age.
I want to finish what I'm saying. I don't want to.
All right, let her finish her point.
Okay.
Let her finish her point, and then you can express what you were trying to say.
Because
I want her to finish her point.
I don't have a problem with someone having an opposing, opinion in regards to what I have to say. I'm not going to attack you because you think differently than me. So if you can manage that, maybe, you can just listen for a bit. It's not an attack.
I'm going to go because I'm a spaz, so I'm going to go.
It's not an attack on your character or you as a man or a person. I'm just saying my stance. That's it.
Go ahead. And we're giving you the platform to say it. So
but see, Amy, here's the thing.
Here we go
again. Right, this is Ralph talking. The only reason I asked you your age is because from what I have been told, the younger audience of today, the 2010s, 2020s, they're very not aware of the past. So when I asked you your age, then I said you may not have never ever seen an episode of Give Me a Break or The
Right.
Jeffersons or All in the Family of What's Happening.
So
That's a very
let's
fair statement.
clear
I am
let's
not
clear
trying.
that
I
up.
am not trying to
Ralph,
attack
let's
you
clear that up right now.
or
Why don't we just ask her directly? Have you ever seen the show Give Me a Break?
Hold on. I'm going to respond to Ralph. So,
Okay.
Ralph, I feel like when you're having a conversation about one thing, why are we going off on a tangent? That's like earlier, I asked the question of whether or not the purpose of the conversation was, it sounds like you guys were talking about things that happen on media like pertaining to, not on a large scale, but just pertaining to Claire. You were talking about the revolutionary things that happened with women and how they were represented as an actress. But then it went off into your parenting when we're not talking about parenting. I was just trying to clarify that. So if we're talking about this show which Florida Evans was on, which I know what Florida Evans looks like, why are we talking about a whole other show, whatever show you just said? That has no relevance.
Yeah, it does have. It has no. This is where you're misreading. Let me answer that. Let me answer that, Ralph. This is where you are 100% wrong. This is where you're 100% wrong. It has
Amy, I'll tell you. Amy, I will tell you.
I'll ask you again. Let me finish, Ralph. Let me finish real quick. I will ask you again.
I'm just having.
Have you seen?
Just relax. You guys need to relax. I'm just having.
No. Listen. I'm gonna ask you this directly. Have you ever seen the show Give Me a Break?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever seen the show What's Happening?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the show All in the Family?
All in the Family. Okay.
Yes, I didn't hear you. That was a yes.
Yes, but
yes.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I do not. There's movies that I have seen, last year or whatever the case is, that I don't remember. Like, I'm not gonna remember. These are specifically the. I mean, I may remember one or two characters, but I mean, I don't know. What you guys are doing, but I'm not like literally sitting down and remembering these episodes and some of the characters I may not remember. Now, if it's a favorite of mine, and I get nostalgic, I may go back and watch or something like that, and then I'll be like, oh yeah. So I mean, to ask me specific things about the show, I may not.
No, I'm just asking you if you ever I'm just asking if you ever seen him, because I'm going back to relevance. The reason why it is 100% relevant, because now whether or not you don't remember what those characters were portrayed or looked like, that's not our fault. That's just, you have to do your research. I'm telling you that there was a look that those characters had that was similar between those characters, and that look changed when the Claire Huxtable character was introduced to the TV world. That has been no, it's not a tangent. That is my point. You're the only one going off on a tangent. That is exactly what I was talking about.
Specifically, we're talking about Claire, and you brought up Florida Evans specifically.
Yes, I used her because I just picked her.
So why are we going off on a tangent talking about these three?
So Amy, if we said Claire going up again, and we compare Claire, the way Claire Huxtable looked on the Cosby Show compared to how Louise Jefferson looked on the Jeffersons, it's a drastic change. You are hung up on the. I think what is that you are getting hung up with the word look, as we are talking about the actress themselves that played that role. We are not talking about the actresses. We are talking about the characters. The characters of Black women back then was a very generic look. It was very generic.
Y'all also believe that Bill Cosby lost his show because he had too good of a reputation, when the fact of the matter is,
first of all, you just put us all in a box and said y'all, when maybe one of us said that. Right. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, y'all also believe that Bill Cosby lost his show because he had too good of an image, and we can't have this successful Black family on TV, when in fact Bill Cosby was the downfall of his show.
Wait, hold.
Now
hold,
who's going off on a tangent now,
on,
though?
Amy,
Wait a minute. Now we're going
You can't.
off on a tangent.
I'm done.
You can't do that.
Because if
You
you
can't
don't
do
want to
that.
stand on what you said, I'm done with
You
that.
can't.
We don't
Wait a minute.
have to talk about that.
No,
anymore.
there's nothing else. We can't be. If we're done with that, then we're done, because I brought you on to hear your point about what you were saying based on what we were talking about. We weren't talking about Bill Cosby's.
We're not talking about Bill Cosby
like
at
that.
all. We're not talking.
We were just talking
Bill
about.
Cosby.
It just happens to be the Cosby Show.
Bill Cosby theoretically is irrelevant because we're not doing anything with Bill Cosby. And second of all, you are taking Bill Cosby the person and also mixing him with Heathcliff Huxtable, the character. Those are two separate things. Yes, you are. Because Bill,
it's probably you that said it. You said
no, it was probably. I think it was Kevin that said it.
It was Kev that said that.
That he couldn't have his show because
Kev said that. Now
Kev
said that. Not Kev said that. Not me. Kev
right, and that's his opinion. That's his opinion.
But what we are trying to. But what we are trying to say is simply this. What I think is going on is that you are taking, because you mentioned Viola Davis and the things that she's talking about. She's talking about Viola Davis as Viola Davis, not the character that she's portraying.
And in response to that, I said, if he said he didn't say it, then fine, because he's backtracking. He can go back and
no one's backtracking.
He said
you can go to the videotape.
Why I interpreted it that way, and I left it that way.
Okay, all right, then fine. But
I wasn't back. See, I was not. Before you finish, Ralph. Let's get one thing once again straight. And now this is becoming the definition of insanity, because I didn't bring you up here to try to change your mind. I brought you up here to tell you.
I don't want to change
to tell you exactly what I said. And if you misinterpreted what I said, I'm trying to explain to you what my interpretation was of what I said. Now, backtracking, I have not backtracked not one time. I stand on what I say. But the problem is here, the miscommunication. I won't say the problem. The miscommunication here is you think what I said was something different than what I said.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's why I specifically said, I think I said it like 3 times, that if that's not what you said, maybe you can go back later and see why I interpreted that way, to see exactly what words you use. Because when you use the word looks, I think of imagery. I think of how somebody looks, just simple. But
the character, the imagery.
But see, Wes,
but not their features or attractive.
I think when you're saying the word looks, that Amy's interpreting about who the person actually is, that the physical part, and that we are saying, and we are sitting here saying that Felicia Rashad looked better than Esther Roll. That is not what we are saying. What we are simply saying is this. Is that when black women were portrayed on television?
When I came on and I said that, he said, "Oh no, that's why I didn't want to say, because
No, what I didn't
it's very easy for someone to just hear one word and take it a whole nother way to where we were never even we are not comparing someone's physical, the person to person. We're talking about the role, and we keep saying when we're talking about the idea of the word look in this particular subject matter, is that when women were portrayed on television, and you can go back and look at television of the 50s, 60s, 70s, they were portrayed a very generic look of a housewife, a mother, a maid. And it wasn't until Claire Huxtable, not Felicia Rashad, Claire Huxtable, where now you have this woman, black or white, that was on television. She's playing the role of a lawyer. She's dressing in power suits. The whole paradigm of how women were portrayed on television switched between Claire Huxtable and Alexis Colby, which was played by Joan Collins on Dynasty. The whole paradigm of how women were portrayed on television changed. Now you do have women rocking power suits. They're heads and CEOs of companies. They're doing things. Whereas back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, the beginning of television, it was a very generic look. And I can say that for Esther Roll as Florida Evans, Lucille Ball, Alice on the Honeymooners, the Dick Van Dyke Show. The list goes on and on of how they had a very generic look. I am not talking about is Felicia Rashad better looking than SRO. We're talking about the role that the characters play, how they looked on the show, their look at that particular point in time until Claire Huxtable was a very generic look. That's what we're talking about, not how they are in real life. So when you brought up like Viola Davis, or you brought up the situation with Pam or Martin, and I could even throw Pam or Martin in there. But look, even if you want to say that Pam talk about the struggles that Titia Arnold talks about the struggles she have as an actress, but look at the roles that she played on Martin.
Look at the role that they gave Pam. They made her, even though she is a beautiful woman. They made Gina look like she was, the desirable, and we had Pam, the one that was always being made fun of, which that's almost what I. Now he said he didn't say it, but that's almost what I looked at. Hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
That is what I. Now he said he did not say it, but when he said what he said, that's how I interpret it. It's almost the same way as how Martin did not. That's perfect. A perfect analogy. The same way how Martin would never take Pam seriously. She was always being made fun of. She was the butt of the jokes, and it was, this was even there was a huge topic about I don't know if you all know anything about Proud Family, where you have a character that's dark skinned. Her name is Dejanay, with the blonde hair, and they make her to be the one that's ghetto and loud and undesirable. However, you have the main girl who Kyla Pratt is, and she is the one who does right by her family. She's lighter skinned. And I love Felicia Rashad myself too. But I was just saying.
We're not talking about Felicia Rashad. We're talking about Claire Huxtable. We're not talking about Felicia Rashad. That's where you're missing the point.
Real life?
That's the actress, but we're not talking about the actress.
This is why I'm saying y'all just going off on tangents, because
that's not going off on tangents.
I'm not talking about you, but I'm not talking about. I don't know that lady in person. Why would I be referring to that lady? I'm just saying it.
Claire Huxtable?
So you can know. Yes, of course I'm talking about the character. Why would I be talking about her, the real person? None of us know the real person.
I do.
Actually, I do too. That's besides the point.
You know the real person.
That's Felicia Rashad. Yes, I do know Felicia Rashad. But Amy, I do understand where you're coming from. But however, the problem that you're talking about, that's a whole nother show, and actually that's above us. That is something that network executives have decided to do. I mean, like right this second, I have the Big Bang Theory on. The Big Bang Theory is on. I don't know if you've ever seen the Big Bang Theory, but there's three main girls. There's Penny, there's Amy, and there's
I'm not saying that's
right?
what that's of course it's above y'all. But I'm saying if you say something regards to looks, which he said, like I said, he didn't say. So I already ended this. By saying that if he said he didn't say it, that's fine. But I'm saying that's.
I didn't say you're wrong again. I did not say that I didn't say it. What I said is you misinterpreted what I said. I said exactly what I said, and I mean what I said.
So what do
there was a certain there was looks me. There's plenty of ways.
Amy, we have explained this 5 times. Well, I'm gonna say this for the last time.
Yeah, you're going over and over and over it. So that's why I'm responding to what you're saying.
No,
because kind of on some type of power trip or something.
This is not a power trip, because I like things to be clear.
Answer that question directly. She said, "What do looks mean?" What we just said.
It's like this. Back in the beginning of television, 50s, 60s, and 70s, up until the beginning of the 80s.
Because I just mentioned a television show, and you just said it's irrelevant. So I don't want to hear anything about back in the day.
Okay. The reason why we use the word looks is because people back
I don't want to hear about that.
In television had a very generic look.
All right, let me answer it, Ralph, because I'm the one who said it. Let me answer it because I'm the one who said it. Let me answer you directly for the last time, because I'm the one who said it. I said that I'm answering your question. Didn't you just ask me a question?
I don't have a
question.
You
just said, what does looks mean? What does that mean? Didn't you just ask me that?
No, I no longer have a question. Yeah, it's just going over your head.
Then the conversation's over at that point, because you came up to tell me what you thought I said or meant,
which is what you did
based on
say.
what I said.
You don't want
I
to
didn't
speak on
what
it.
you thought I meant by what I said,
It's what you
and
said.
I'm telling you what I said, and I stand on what I said. But it's not what you think I meant, because the bottom line is there was, before Claire Huxtable character, there was a certain look for characters prior to her character, especially for, and it was for women in general. I use black women, but it really was for women in general on television. And it was the same generic look. So I don't know how else to say it. The word is look, because that's the word to use. It's a word. Look, if you want me to, I don't know what other word I'm supposed to use to explain that. And you're stuck on the word
I'm
look.
not stuck on anything. I
Yes, you
already
are,
said
and
if
and
that's what
and and you should
I
know
said.
that the
That's not
word
what you meant.
look can
I
be
said if that's
taken
not what you
in
meant,
many different
then
contexts. It's not one
I said that
context.
earlier. I said if that's not what you meant, maybe you can go back later and see why it was interpreted that way. Because
But
of
you're the
course,
only one who interpreted it that way right now. As far as I know, you're the only one who interpreted it that way.
and
He
what's
didn't
wrong with
interpret
that?
it that way.
What's
I'm
wrong
not.
with
No one said anything's
well,
wrong with it. You
Amy,
said I'm not
exactly?
gonna go back.
So
I'm not gonna go back and try to. Why would I go back and try to figure out why you felt that way? That's why I brought you on, to tell me why you felt that way. I'm
and
not gonna go back and try to figure
I'm
out why
telling you,
you
but every time I
felt
tell you, you
how
keep going off
I
in something
how.
well,
that's
Amy,
irrelevant.
Because what you're telling
wait
me
a minute.
is irrelevant. You're talking about colorism. You're talking about actors in general, in specific. I am not talking about that, and I never was. That's a whole nother show topic. And it's not what you're talking about is not wrong, but it's not what we're talking about right now. That's all I'm trying to tell you. It's not what we're talking about.
Amy, I have a question. Since it seems like you don't like the word look, what other word, in your opinion, do you think?
I never said I don't like the word looks.
No, I'm just
Now,
asking you, what other
when did
word,
I
in
say?
your
Now, when
opinion,
did I
could
say
you
I
have
don't like the
used?
word? When did I say that I
That's
don't
not
like?
what I said was, what other word would you have used in place of the word look?
Like I said, I don't remember exactly what he said. I know he did use the word looks, but if he goes back to replay what he's saying, then I could tell you how I would have phrased it.
Well,
Okay. Well, I mean, if
Amy, I'm sorry.
you
We can't
yeah.
rewind the show while the show is still going on.
Well,
Right.
I
So
At that
told you. I
point,
said
whoever
later.
so unfortunately, we can't
so
do
to
that.
handle
If you
that,
have
whoever
2
wants
ears,
to understand our both of our points, if you're watching the show now, rewind back to whenever I said what I said, and then you, meaning other people, I don't mean you, you've already made your stance. Other people can go ahead and make their interpretation of what I said. What I said, I personally do not feel it was,
Wrong.
I said it the way I said it, and that's what I meant. But you interpreted that way, and that's why we let you come on the show to talk about it, because that's your way. And I'm sitting here trying to explain to you exactly what I said and what I meant, but you won't accept that. You
I
keep
never
saying
said that.
no
I
because blah
never
blah.
said
You want it,
that. I
so
never
but
said
you
that.
haven't accepted that. You asked you
I
told
never
me what
said that.
you thought,
I said if
and I
that's not what you
corrected you.
I said if that's not what you meant, then fine. And you all
Okay.
still continued.
Hmm.
So if you
Okay.
go back, you
So
will
if
hear me.
that's not what I meant, yeah, okay, then that's fine then. Then
And
in that aspect, what I would do is I
what I
would ask
tried to
you.
do is explain to you as to why I
You felt
wanted to
that way.
clarify that
Hmm.
because of the struggles that people like Viola
Hmm.
Davis have. That's what I
Right.
said. Instead of
Now
understanding that that's the reason why I
I do
added
understand, but what
that
I
it
want you to
wasn't
understand, what
relevant,
I want
but the
you to
truth of
know
the matter,
is
it
this
is
is
relevant
something.
because
This is
these
like a whole
people
nother
have
show. This is a whole
we
nother
don't well
show
we don't have to get into
topic.
that. I wasn't asking to get into that.
I'd love
I
to
was
get
just
into it when we're
I was
talking
ex-
about it. I bring you back on. You could be a guest, and we come back on, and we could talk specifically about that, because we know
Because
that is an issue,
that
and
is a
it's been an
whole
issue for decades. It's
that
been
is
an
a whole
issue for
bigger problem. Believe me,
freaking,
that is a
yeah,
whole bigger problem than Viola Davis.
right.
It really we all know a bunch of mainstream movie actors, and I'll give you one that I know, DeWanda Wise, right? Who played Nola Darling in the remake of She's Gotta Have It. Okay, since She's Gotta Have It was abruptly canceled by Netflix, Is it because she was a dark-skinned woman or because Spike Lee is too controversial? I don't know. But it was a good show that was one of the highest rated on Netflix, and they just up and canceled it out of the blue. The Wanda Wise has got struggles.
I'm not talking about those type of things because I feel like that's up in the air. I'm talking about direct stuff. I listened to Viola Davis's story, and I'm not talking about like that's like a really broad general. She's not the only one that lost her job.
I mean, she's a great example though of that topic. She's a great example.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, because we have so many. We don't. The thing is, it's not just. Sometimes I think it's larger than racism. It's about power too, or it could be even a struggle. The one we having right now, man versus woman. Sometimes the man wants power, or the woman wants power. I think there's that too. Because people are in the workplace fighting for equality in pay when it comes to men and women as well. So I mean, if everybody got fired on that job, or for that cast or for that movie or whatever it is, how can we for sure say it was for racism? So I would not be out. I wouldn't stand behind saying that about her, because some people, I'm trying to remember his name. What is his name? There's a singer who his career didn't make. He's a really good singer, actually. He's Black. His career didn't make it to where he's supposed to be. But are we going to say that just because he's Black? Because he is talented, but then when you look into it, he has other struggles himself. He had like personal struggles. So I feel like, and I don't. Even when you're going to make a report or whatever and say, oh, somebody was racist, they're going to ask you what specifically was the racist thing that they did to you. Just because they fired you, did they call you a name and say, oh, get out of here because you're so and so? So I feel like that wouldn't be a good example unless that girl has a specific
I mean, we could probably grab a bunch of different examples. I'm just gonna say this. We need to wait a minute, Ralph. Wait a second. No more examples. We have to table this conversation because number one, the people in the chat room are getting antsy and they're getting a little upset and they're starting to leave because they feel that we're getting nowhere with our conversation. So now people are starting to leave the show. There's people who's literally saying, "Why is this conversation continuing? I'm leaving." Whatever. So because we have to table it, meaning this is a whole nother show topic and it's an important show topic that I plan on having a whole show about and getting some actresses on here and getting their opinions right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Get their opinion. Tell me, have you ever experienced this? And tell me your story. That's a future show that we set up, and I would love for Amy to come on and give her opinions and what she's talking about because she wants to express that. But to be realistic and to be completely 100% honest, that is not what we're talking about at this moment. We can take off things, and we do that a lot too. We do go off on tangents on other things too. We can go a whole bunch of different directions. But right now, that's not the topic of conversation. So with that being said, I would love to please, Amy, if you want to, email the show so we have a way of contacting you to let you know, or just hit subscribe and you'll know when we actually do a show like that. And you can come on the panel. I have no problem with that because you seem to be passionate about it. And you have knowledge about it, so that's all we look for when it comes to people coming on the panel. So, but we do appreciate you coming on, and we actually have to end the show in a few minutes. But we do appreciate you coming on and coming into the chat room and interacting, and that's why I wanted to bring you up here because that is I wanted to hear your points. But everything else we got to go forward. But thank you for joining us and. Please subscribe to the channel so you will know we are going to do a show like that. I have been actually planning that. I just need to get the actors' schedules and stuff together. Because I know personally actors, and they may not be, just because they're actors, it's not big actors that people know. Doesn't matter. It happens on the lowest levels and the highest levels.
Yeah.
So I got some independent
Men
actresses
and
coming
women.
on, men
Men
and
and
women. As a
women.
matter of fact, I plan on getting Winsome Sinclair. Hopefully, I can get Winsome Sinclair, who is a huge casting director. She's been in the business for over 30 years. She's casted all of Spike Lee's movies. I would love to have her on, to have her on a panel, just to have her opinion on what she feels about this type of thing, and how important it is to represent all shades and colors of blacks in casting, being that she's a big casting director. So, anyway, thank you for coming on, Amy. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Alright.
All right. Yeah, and so I just want to apologize to the chat room. Not apologize for what we were talking about because we need. I
We
love
need to have these
what
discussions.
Amy did. Right, what Amy did coming on and speaking of points, even though her point was way off base for me, but I I invite and I encourage people to come on and talk and whatever, discuss, not debate because it's not a debate show, but discuss our points. I think at the end of the day, she did say that, okay, well, if that's not what you meant, then fine, that's fine because but I think Amy wants to really talk about something else
Real
that
life.
she's passionate
Real life.
about.
Real life
And I ain't got no
scenarios.
problem with that. Doris says, thank goodness. No, it's
Nah, no, Doris,
it
we
is
got,
what
we
it
got
is.
to, we got to, because some, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that it's like how we had the discussion a few years ago about R. Kelly. Like how do you separate the man from the music, right? And
Right.
I think that's what was going. Amy is taking. How do you separate the person from the character they play? Because the real person got a real life struggle. I mean, we are aware, and I also. I don't want to say I didn't mean if she felt insulted because I asked her age. It wasn't because I really was trying to insult her or age her. It's because of the fact that the younger generation is not aware of the past. Like we are, but and also she's talking to people, myself, Wes, and Kev, that do know about television, that are in the entertainment business for real, and we're not playing. We're really in this business, so we are aware of all this stuff, and we've been aware of this stuff for years.
Yeah, that's why I
So
said I'm
so
planning.
so our
And when you
so
start getting in colorism and stuff, that's a whole another show topic. And
exactly.
that we will address, and I want to do it right. We're gonna bring people on, and get all of this and get some actors on here and talk about colorism, but that wasn't what we was talking about. That's not where we wanted to go with it, but I thought it was important to address her, and especially since she requested to come on. I thought it was that alone, I was with that because a lot of times we tell people, hey, come on, we throw the link,
And
you can come
they're
on
like,
and
nope,
talk, and they
no.
never do. So maybe this will encourage people to come on and express what they're talking about or what they're feeling, but we just couldn't keep it in that lane. But anyway, to the chat room, we appreciate y'all listening and stuff like that, and we encourage y'all, if y'all have an opinion, to come on and say it. But once again, we really just wanted to focus on the impact that the Claire Huxtable character made for at that point in time for television, and how women in general, I was using the word black women, but I should have said women in general, how women in general were now portrayed post Claire Huxtable, as opposed to how they looked and were portrayed before Claire Huxtable character, which is I said Florida Evans. That was the first character. I just used that as that one analogy, and that's why I said, that's where, for whatever reason, there was a miscommunication, and there you have it.
We came behind that and said the Mary Tyler Moores. That's why that's
Well,
why
yeah, like I said, I was doing just black women, but I really should have said women in general were portrayed a certain way with a certain look before. Had I said women in general, then
Maybe it
we
might be a
probably
different
wouldn't have
thing.
been having this conversation, right? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, either way, it's up for your interpretation. But at the same time, I'm never going to backtrack on what I say. I'm never going to say whatever, and I'm not going to apologize for what I say, especially if you don't understand it. Even if I say something that's wrong, or in your eyes wrong, or anyone's eyes wrong, if I say it, I mean it. And at this point, I'm just talking about seriously about the look of the character, and that's it. You know. So
No,
and then so
and let's not say that the look of the character. He is talking about what that character represents as far
yeah,
as possession, a profession, as far
yeah,
as how she was portrayed as a housewife,
yeah,
compared to characters
exactly.
earlier decades.
Right. No, there is no. I mean, to me, I'm like, I don't even know what miscommunicated, but I mean, people interpret things certain ways, and people sometimes hear what they
And-
want to hear. But
but
you
no,
know,
it's
it
like
is
you
what it
said,
is.
that's why I want her to come back onto the show, because she clearly there is something that she has to say.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I want her to be able to say it. It's just not. This is not the show to say it on.
It's not the
But I'm glad
platform.
that
It's
she.
not the
Yeah, this
topic.
is not the. This is not the topic right now. The platform is great for the. Come on. That's why I said I will. If she stays in touch with the show, I will let her know when we do our show on colorism that I've been planning for a couple of weeks now. You know. Anyway, so at the end of the day, like we said, Claire Huxtable is on the Mount Rushmore. Because that's where this all started.
She
He said
still
Claire
get knocked
Huxtable's
out in
on
the
the
first round. So because I'm
yeah,
trolling,
yes,
she's gonna get
yeah, because
knocked
you
out
trolling.
first round.
So anyway, so next week we'll be talking about, we'll probably next week actually get into the seeding of our
Hmm.
competition that we're doing, and then probably the week following that we will go right
Get
on
it
and,
going.
and get it popping.
Cutthroat.
And from that point on, we'll probably do a couple of rounds each show. And I'm not now that the date has been pushed back, but we will be doing our Last American Version anniversary 40th anniversary show where we have the cast. So I've been working on getting not the entire cast, but most of the main cast and the um the director. That's why I've been really trying to get the director on the show. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. I was trying to see. I see Heaven Hollywood in the chat room. Have we, Heaven Hollywood? If you can hear me, have we hit the 15,000 mark yet? Because I know we were right there. We were right there. I don't know. I haven't been able to bring that up on the as we hear because the show is going. But we're right there. If you grab the subscribe button, we're about like last time I saw it, it was like 3
Oh, he
subscriptions
said
away.
yes. He said
Oh, he
yes.
says yes. Okay, perfect. All right, congratulations to the IE network for hitting that milestone. We definitely. What's it say here? Thank you. Yeah, thank you to everybody.
Everybody, thank you.
We appreciate y'all watching the shows. All of the ones that support Heaven Hollywood, the people that support this show, and every other thing that goes on here. We really appreciate that. This is a great milestone, and we want to keep pushing forward and hopefully get to that 20, get to that dub. Get to that,
20 deuce.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
20 deuce.
Hopefully we can get to that ASAP, but 15 is great. That's a milestone in itself. We appreciate y'all. Doris, what's up? I see you in the room.
Hi, Doris.
You never you never came on to let us know how your event went.
Oh yeah, how the
I hope it
thing?
went well. You get a chance, you let us know, because like we said, that event, we promoted that the week after, the week right before, we kept promoting it because we thought it was a great thing that you was doing, with the back to school, getting the kids to read books and doing a comic convention. It was awesome. That was an awesome thing to do. Yeah, it was an awesome thing to do. So we hope that your event went, came off well. and she said it was awesome, perfect. That's what I like to hear. She said she got busy, as we know you was organizing that event, and it was awesome, perfect. That's all we wanted to know. So we kudos to you. We give you applause for putting on something like that, and being that it went awesome. Hopefully you can do
Do
one
it again.
again. Yeah, hopefully you can do it again. And she
Whoa.
said you had the NBA. Wow, had the
Whoa.
NBA Memphis Grizzlies at the community center on Saturday. Oh, nice.
Awesome. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, you're doing things, man. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Anything that has to do with the youth, the community, and just trying to
Education.
excel and educate, that's beautiful. And I love what really, as you know from watching the show, myself, Kev, we're big comic book fans. I was a comic book collector. So the fact that you had comics as the backdrop really was near and dear to my heart. So yeah, because that is, to be honest with you, I was never a big reader. This is where I was never a big reader, but I read comics. So that's what had me read. I read comic books.
Boxing club.
Is that yeah? I have a boxing
tomorrow.
club coming. Wow, October 1st. She doing it, man. No, like I
You
said,
need to call in. You need to call
yeah,
in.
you need to
For
call
real.
in and run down the things you're doing in your community, because that's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. Make sure people know what's going on when you're doing that thing. Make sure you get on with us next week if you want, and tell us what you got coming up. We will promote that, and you got the email, so send us stuff if you got flyers. We will gladly promote that, because anything that has to do with youth, kids, education, we all for it. So we
Yep.
appreciate that. So anyway,
Real talk, love the kids. Real talk,
yeah,
love the kids.
real talk, love the kids. Right? So on that note, we're gonna end the show. This was cool. This was a cool thing, man. It took a weird turn, but it was, hey, I love it. Real talk is for the children.
Yeah.
So anyway, next week, shout out to Doris, shout out to Amy, shout out to everybody that came through. He, me, him. Of course, Joseph, who was a little late today, but you know what? He's always holding it down. So we got to say thanks to Joseph, who always comes in and watches the show and supports the show. At the end of the day, people, we always appreciate your support. We value your opinions. And like I said, as long as we can stay on the topic at hand, you can come on and talk. You can come on and co-host with us. I have no problem with that. But we just got to keep it, going in the right direction, and not, turn it into, first take. So already got those.
How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? They won Saturday. How about them
It's
Cowboys?
preseason. Come on.
Don't care,
It's
man.
freaking preseason.
I don't
Get
care.
out of here.
I don't
How
care. They
about
still
them
won.
Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
How about
Love
them
it.
New York Mets? How about that?
Yeah, man. I got to give it up for the Mets, man. Maybe this year we can get that ring again. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
that would be
Mets and
great.
Dodgers is just ripping it. Got to give it up to the
Yeah.
Mets.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, so we'll catch up with y'all next week, man. Thanks for joining us. All right. You can love us, you can hate us, but don't ever forget about us. Don't you forget about me. Peace.